Inside out. check.
Come on! Ah!
You got a Yamanaka in the Toyota, so you know what to watch out for. Go, 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 go! Yes, yes, come on! Go! Bloody hell! No!
Welcome wherever you're watching in the world. This is the 2020 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. We're in the third year of the competition, and this year promises to be even bigger and better than ever before. Last year, our GT community grew about as much as the rivalries and competition did between our drivers, which is a heck of a lot. Cue drivers shouting at each other montage. This is the first stop on our world tour, so we thought we'd come somewhere we've never been before, which is Australia. Because, there's a couple reasons, some of our best drivers come from here, and also after all the rain of Monaco, we really fancied a little bit of sunshine. This year promises to be incredible, and I can't wait to take you all the way around the globe and to show you some of the best sim races in the world today. Speaking of today, it's all about the Manufacturers Series, and if you missed the final last year in Monaco, here's what went down. Last season was all about the intense rivalry between Toyota and Mercedes, which lasted the whole year and came to a climactic finish at the finale in Monaco, with Toyota being reigned and crowned champion. Now, it's a brand new year, it's a brand new season. Will this rivalry continue? Well, we're about to find out because the qualifiers went down and Tom and Jimmy were there.
Manufacturer Series action just finished here for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships here in Sydney. And it was a very close affair up and down on track, Jimmy. Audi and Porsche, a bit too close, really. Same time they said in the session. Audi will start in second, Porsche will start in third. But really, it was BMW, stars of the show.
Yeah, definitely. BMW the ones to beat here today. And it was Nico Rubler, Mr. Hot Lap himself, in the hot seat, doing what he does oh so well and putting in the lap when it matters. Of course, our winner last year at Paris was Nico Rubler, and that him and that M6, absolutely deadly combination, setting a time 2 tenths faster than anybody else. And speaking of Nico Rubler, we have him with us on the headset right now. Nico, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, congratulations. First pole of the season. Quite a good way to start off 2020, I think, isn't it?
Thank you. Yeah, it has been a lot of droughtness, I can say, because my last pole position was on Paris, I guess. And there was a droughtness until now that I broke the curse, I can say.
Well, a pretty good place to break the curse, I'd say, at Mount Panorama. Of course, new season, new BOP. How's the BMW feeling now on these on this new setting?
Well, it's much better that we have more top speed now. Like, all the cars have the same top speed, so now that we have more power, we can just save more fuel, not like the other times, because we were slow on the top speed, and still we have to short shift and lost much more top speed. So at least now we can keep up the pace with the other cars.
You were a fairly strong team this year, I think it's fair to say. Are you feeling confident now coming into the event later on today?
Yeah. I mean, I have a really good relationship with Koke and Randall, and that gives me much more confidence when I'm driving. So, because I know they're gonna perform really good. So it just gives me more confidence on the track.
Well, thank you so much, Nico. Great to hear from you. And there you are, then, our pole sitter for the Team BMW, Nico Rubler.
So a good day for Mr. Hot Lap Rubelar driving for BMW, but the other two you need to keep your eye on in second and third place was Grady driving for Audi and Simmons for Porsche. So keep an eye on them moving forward in the competition. Now, of course, as always, we want to hear from you, so hit us up on the hashtags below and let us know your thoughts. And keep an eye out for who you think's doing particularly well today and might be crowned our Michelin driver of the day. Now, you do get to see us kind of traveling the world, you know, living this swag kind of baller lifestyle, you know, and I bet you've said to one of your friends that you could probably do better than some of these guys. I know you've definitely said that. So I think now is the time to quit your yapping and go get yourself a pen. To qualify through the online series, you first have to make sure you enter sport mode in GT Sport. Then try to qualify during one of the 10 races of each stage to have a chance to join us at a World Tour. Only the top-ranking drivers from the top manufacturers or one of our official partner manufacturers will be selected. Did you get all that? All right, well, we'll see you in the next one then. But let's kick off today and chuck it over to Tom and Jimmy.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Julia. Welcome to World Tour 1 for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. We're coming to you live from Sydney in Australia. Boy, it is good to be back. Great to have a live audience here as well. And Manufacturer Series action, Jimmy Broadbent's going to be pretty exciting.
What is that hat, man?
This is comedy gold right here. I'm just blending in.
All right.
Yeah.
In your opinion, yeah.
Exactly. Well, Manufacturer Series is going to be pretty exciting here tonight. Different format, of course, for this evening, for this season, in fact. So what are we going to be expecting from that? Because instead of having the usual 3 races, we've now down to 2 longer races, essentially, with 3 drivers in each and strategy and all of that to think about.
I think now it's going to be a bit more about consistency. Very important to do that, of course. And of course, here is the new comp format. So general qualifying, of course, 12 teams, 1 driver per team took part in the qualifying yesterday. And that's where we got our pole position from Nico Rubelar. Race 1, the team competed for points, but all 3 drivers must race. So everyone must have a go at, have a bite of the cherry. And those results determine the grid position for the grand final. You see the points on the screen right now, with 1st and 9th picking up some points there. In the grand final, of course, that is doubled then to double points. So even if you have a bad first race, it's not over and done with straight away.
Yeah, that's what we like, isn't it? Giving people a bit of a second bite of the cherry, because sometimes luck doesn't go your way. In terms of manufacturers that haven't gone their way, we talked about Audi before we came on air, Jimmy, and Audi, they had a torrid time, really. If you think about it, in Monaco, they were doing really well up until the final, on for a podium, and it all went Pete-tong right at the end.
They were very close, and then someone just slapped it away from him right at the last second, which is, that's racing, it happens sometimes. But as you kind of alluded to in our little pre-show earlier on, the Audi now quite a bit quicker, and a couple of circuits that I think suit the Audi as well. So watch out for him.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how it all plays out for these guys over the course of this evening. BMW, of course, qualified on pole. We heard from Nicolas Rubelar just a few moments ago. He was giving praise to his fellow drivers that are lining up alongside him, of Coque Lopez, of course, and Randall Hayward. Very strong driver pairing, very quick over 1 lap, but we always know that doesn't necessarily translate into race pace.
I think most importantly as well, the pairing that have been together for quite a while now. They aren't just, there's no more chopping and changing there. So if you're used to your teammates, that helps a lot. You know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it just makes the whole process a lot easier. So I think those teams that have stayed together a bit longer stand a better chance. Yeah,
absolutely right. And it is going to be exciting to see how it all plays out between these drivers, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I'm very much looking forward to seeing everyone get on there and go at it again. It seems like it was only yesterday we were in Monaco, and now, of course, here we are in Sydney, ready to go again.
Yeah, we certainly are. You can see Team Toyota. They, of course, are the reigning champions. 4 victories out of 13 races in the Group 3 class they took in 2019. 2 of those were in the World Final to claim that crucial world title, crowning them as Manufacturer Series champions of last year. You can see Rayan Darouche there, exactly what it meant to him. Here they were, going toe-to-toe, door handle to door handle with Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, Mercedes, though, they were, I guess, the upset of last season for them. We very much expected them to be the ones taking the fight to Toyota in the final, having been the only team ever to do 2 back-to-back victories in the Manufacturer Series, but they just weren't quite quick enough.
No, well, let's see whether they can turn their fortunes around here tonight. It is now time, though, to get action underway very shortly indeed. But before that, we have the national anthem. Please, your respect for the national anthem of Australia. National anthem of Australia plays out, our host nation for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships in Sydney. We are just about ready to get action underway, but before that, let's take a look, shall we, at the circuit and the cars that are going to be competing in the first race of this evening, because we are at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Group 4 machinery, and that is going to make things very exciting because, as opposed to the traditional Group 3 machinery we're used to seeing, slower cars, of course, still based on road cars, but a little bit less downforce, a little bit less grip, and it's going to make things quite exciting, especially around the very tricky Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, definitely. Spa, one of those circuits that if you don't know, you can get out. This is a circuit you should definitely all know by now if you're a race fan. Just over 7 kilometres in length. Multiple famous corners here, of course, Eau Rouge and Radion. You've got Pouin in there as well. And the Source, a great place for overtaking as well. And as Tom said, we are in the Group 4 cars today with the racing hard, medium and soft tyres being used. Now, you can see at the bottom of the screen right there, you must use each tyre type at least once with a minimum of 4 laps. So what that means is you have to, when you pit in, say you're using a hard compound tyre, you've got to use 4 laps before you're allowed to then go and change on to the next compound.
Well, 7 kilometres, of course, 12 laps. It's going to be a pretty long race, this one, so strategy is going to be important. Also, one thing to bear in mind, it is quite warm, actually, here in our venue, so there is going to be an element, I think, of fatigue for these drivers.
There's fatigue for me as well, Tom. But yeah, I mean, a lot of the guys, of course, not from here, a lot of us Europeans flying over. It's a bit colder over there at the moment, so those things come into play, you know, especially jet lag as well. I mean, the Japanese guys are usually the ones that suffer, and they're the ones now having a bit of a break. So in terms of tyre strategy, we touched on that for a second, of course, and we have the 3 different compounder tyres. Now, it's quite straightforward, really, given that it's a 12-lap race, and we have 4 minimum laps, so it's 4-4-4.
Yeah, well, you would think so, wouldn't you? Let's take a closer look, shall we, at the tyre strategy. You can see it on your screen there. So here is what we're predicting for the race strategies. If you start on the soft tyre, which is indicated in red, you'll likely change to the mediums, then to the hards to the end. If you start on the mediums, it's then hards and softs. If you start on the hards, it's then mediums and softs to the end. Of course, you want to be on the quickest tyre compound, in theory, towards the end if you do start on any of the slower ones. But what are you going to do there? Are you going to go ugly early, get the hard or the medium tyres out the way, then get the softs on towards the end, or are you going to opt to have the softs and have really good race pace at the start, try and romp away with a bit of an advantage over your competitors, and then try and go for the slower compounds at the end when you've got a lead?
I like that phrase, ugly early. But I think basically what you want to try and do is make sure, if you have a gap, be on the soft compounder tyre. Don't be fighting on it, otherwise you're just losing the speed of the tyre. It's not worth it.
Well, let's get ready then, shall we? We're ready to get Manufacturer Series action underway here for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships in Sydney. Racing action to come for you here tonight in the Manufacturer Series World Tour 1. Group 4 cars at Spa-Francorchamps, 12 laps, and it's BMW that start on pole position with Nicolas Roubillard, the driver who qualified on pole and starting for that team. Audi start in P2, Martin Grady behind the wheel. In P3, it is Team Porsche with Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean driver, in 3rd place. Alongside them is Team Toyota, Tomoki Yamanaka, who is, of course, otherwise known as the Samurai. Just behind them, difficult day at the office in qualifying for Mercedes-Benz. And Felix is going to have it all to do from P5, with Lexus and Baptiste Beauvoir alongside them in P6. 7th position, Aston Martin, Jonathan Wong. He lines up for the British mark. Alongside them is Team Ford and Adam Wilk. Hopefully he can have some better luck after a challenging 2019. Team Chevrolet and Matt McEwen line up in P9. Rounding out the top 10 in the penultimate row of the grid is Alfa Romeo. Shiogo Yoshida, the Japanese driver, is on that row of the grid. Kenny Kanomos lines up for Jaguar in 11th. They're going to have to really pull it out of the bag here tonight, as are Hyundai. Connor Healy starting from 12th position on the grid.
So yes, Spa-Francorchamps, of course, here we are. A circuit which approaching casually is usually quite easy, but when you're racing 12 other cars who are comprised of the fastest drivers in the world, it's pretty tricky indeed. So let's look at tyres there on the left. See BMW opting for the medium compounder tyre first, with Audi and Porsche opting to go for the soft and to attack early on. The runners down the field opting for the harder thing, just try and get out of the way quick as possible. So that's interesting. I would have thought we'd see BMW go on to the soft, Tom, but they've chosen the medium.
It's an interesting strategy call. Let's see how it all pays out for them, though, as we get ready to get this one underway. It's a very long run to the bus stop chicane. Out of that then and over the timing line is when we'll get the race started. And it's a very tricky, tight first corner of the sort, isn't it?
Great overtaking spot as well. If you're feeling a bit brave on the brakes, fancy out the inside, definitely a very easy spot to pick up some positions.
So then, about ready to get action underway. The 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships World Tour 1 here in Sydney is about to get underway at Spa-Francorchamps. The crowd Everyone are cheering, they're on their feet. It's lights out and away we go. 2020 in Gran Turismo is underway. Team BMW lead the field over the timing line, followed by Audi, followed by Porsche. Is anybody going to think about a move down towards the first corner? You can see Toyota going defensive against Mercedes-Benz. Lexus also defending against Aston Martin. And look at Audi, they've got them through into the race lead out of the source as Mercedes-Benz gets shuffled down to 7th place. They've lost 2 positions off the start here, so that is a big disappointment for the German manufacturer. But it is now Audi that lead the way up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon for the first time.
That's really important there for Audi to get by as quick as possible in that soft compounder tyre. Now BMW are going to act as a little bit of a buffer between them and Porsche, also on the soft compound. These will be our breakaway trio right now. But look at the slipstream now, coming up the Kemmel Straight, coming up towards Lecom. BMW look to the outside there, not really much room to get by. Now Audi will stay in the lead for now. And of course, on that soft compounder tyre, they have quite a big advantage going through the middle sector in the background. Mercedes-Benz losing 2 places down to 7th position. That's another place there down to 8th, with Ford moving up 7th. Now on board with the Porsche, the Cayman GT4 car. Great car this. You get a great driver's eye view of what's going on, coming down to Rivage and now into the newly named X corner. Very tricky this, easy to understeer off to the outside there. And that BMW just about hanging in there on the medium compounder tyre.
Angel Nestroza, the driver behind the wheel, the Chilean, of course, who was instrumental in the German manufacturer's success for winning World Tour 5 in Tokyo last year in the 2019 World Tour. Are they going to be able to try and overhaul BMW here? You can see as we look back at an onboard camera, Angel Nestroza in the far left-hand corner of your picture. They're all over the back of BMW like a bad rash as they come through the Fanier chicane and really putting the pressure on in that Cayman GT4 of BMW. Of course, medium compactive tyres for BMW crucially at this early stage. They are going to be that little bit slower. Porsche have got the upper hand on the soft compound here, and that is really showing with how much they have reeled in BMW over this lap.
Yes, of course, and in the background there in 4th position are 2019 manufacturers champions Toyota. They're still just about there in draft range, but now it's between BMW and Porsche. Now, if you can get a good run coming out of Blanchimont here, you can attack into the bus stop. So let's see what happens here. Porsche all over the back of BMW. A little bit of a correction there, mid-corner for BMW. You don't want to be doing that at 250 Ks, I can tell you that from experience. And now coming down to the bus stop, there's no move there for now. And it's important that Porsche get by as quick as they can, because all the time they're spending stuck behind BMW, they're using up their soft tyre advantage.
And it's allowing Audi to just build out a bit of a buffer. 7/10 of a second it sits at the end of lap 1 for Martin Grady, who is behind the wheel of that Audi TT. Down towards the first corner we go. You can see a bit of a gap being pronounced there. Toyota looking all on their own in P4. Behind them is Aston Martin. In front of them is Porsche, who we're riding on board with as we come down the straight in towards Eau Rouge and Raidillon for the second time of asking. Angel Nestroza, as you can see there in the top left-hand corner of your picture briefly, and he needs to get past Nicolas Roubillard in that BMW, and this is the best opportunity he's got over the top of Raidillon onto the Kemmel Straight. This is where they've got the slipstream, and you can bet your bottom dollar that Nicolas Roubillard is going to try and defend that position, but using the slipstream is, of course, all well and good if you don't have a car in front of you giving you the slipstream as well, which is exactly what Nicolas Roubillard has, and it's just allowing him that safety net at the moment.
I don't think the Porsche's got the top end anyway. It doesn't seem it's that quick in a straight line, even with the draft, but they both, of course, close up on the Audi in front, who's effectively punching a hole in the air for both these guys right now, getting very close. Here's Rivage, not using overtaking the spot unless you're feeling brave. Porsche tapping the rear quarter panel of BMW there. Bit of a bump and run on the way through. Porsche there up to 2nd place and BMW down to 3rd. So a good move there from Porsche. We'll see if the stewards agree with that. Maybe a little bit of a nudge, a friendly nudge on the way through, but that's racing, as they say. And that means now the 2 soft tyre runners are 1st and 2nd place. And that's probably going to allow Toyota to close up a little bit. They're saying that 1.6 seconds off his battle of the top 3. But meanwhile, Martin Grady in the Audi still leading away. Good start for them, but the fact that the BMW is still in the mix, great for their race.
You can see exactly what it means to have different tyres. Incident under investigation between BMW and Porsche there for a slight collision. I wonder if the stewards will deem any penalties as a result of that. We'll keep an eye out. Don't think it cost them too much time there between Porsche and BMW, but let's see what happens over the course of this one as we come towards the end of lap 2.
So one of the interesting things about these Group 4 cars is a different drivetrain. So we'll get into that just in 2 seconds. We watch a replay. What do you guys think here? So Porsche's at the inside. I think it was okay. I think it was a little bit rude, but no, I think it was okay. The gap was there, and Porsche snuck on through. But to finish my point there, is we have different drivetrains here in the Group 4 cars. And that Audi at the front leading right now is front-wheel drive. So you'll see that Martin struggles a bit through the bus stop. And look at the gap that Porsche's managed to shrink that very quickly. And a different line through there as well. The Audi struggles to get on the power. Can't quite manage it. And there Porsche now all over the back of the German manufacturer. Here we are coming down to the source. Look at that straight line speed of the Audi there, just pulling away from the Porsche like it's standing still.
The thing is, of course, with that Audi, if it's front-wheel drive, it's going to wear its tyres out significantly more on the front compared to the rear-wheel drive car, you would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially through the slower corners as well. You're going to. Martin's been driving this car for a while. He knows it very well. It's all about throttle control on these things. Very easy to spin the front wheels if you're not careful.
Over the top of Rouge and Radion we go, then riding on board with Ankel Nestroza with the Porsche. He's got a good run through there. Martin Grady didn't get such a good one. He took a lot of curb on the inside as he came over the top. And is he going to be a sitting duck on this straight? He certainly is, because look at the straight line speed of the Porsche. He's just modulating the throttle and lifting off a little bit there is Ankel Nestroza. He pulls alongside the Audi though to go for the race lead. Side by side down to Lekum. Porsche on the inside, Audi on the outside, and Porsche lead the way on lap 3 here at Spa-Francorchamps.
I don't really know why Martin didn't defend there. I guess his thinking is, let's just try and get to the end of the race and not slow each other down too much. But still, there was absolutely no fight there. Just, yeah, go on then, all yours, mate. So
maybe he's worried about losing too much time if he gets involved in the battle. And of course, they've got BMW quite close behind, so it's worth considering that, because if BMW come into the mix and they all end up losing more time, Toyota, they're not too far away to pounce.
And also, as you mentioned as well, tyre wear. I think maybe if you're yeeting that Audi around a bit, it's not going to respond very well. So here we are coming through Pool 1 now. The Audi is a bit better for the high-speed stuff, just low speed where it goes wrong. So here's a replay. To be honest, there's not much to show. Porsche just slip up the inside, down again. All right, okay. Have it, Angle. I don't want it. There you go. So Porsche up into first, but a change in the lead now. Let's see if Porsche can pull away. Now, bear in mind, it's a minimum of 4 laps on each tyre, and effectively a maximum too, given that it's a 12-lap race. So end of the next lap, we will be seeing every car come into the pits. If you do get it wrong, you don't come into the pit lane, you'll be slapped with a 20-second penalty for each offence. I think that's what last year was said.
Yeah, confirmation of the tyre strategies on the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You can see the tyre change being 2 seconds, so that will, of course, drive to lose a little bit of time. I tell you who I'm really impressed with, Nicolas Rubelar behind the wheel of that BMW. They're in the pound seats here as far as they're concerned, because they've kept the gap at a constant to Audi and Porsche in front, and they're on the medium compound of tyres. They've got that soft compound, that soft rubber to use towards the end of this race. So depending on their strategy, and of course how the race pans out for them with Randall Hayward and Cocaine Lopez in the car, they could be sitting very pretty at the moment.
2 very quick drivers, of course, accompanying Nico Rubelar there in the BMW. And as you said, Tom, it's just impressive. It's impressive that he's managed to stay there, because on paper, those medium tyres about a second a lap slower, yet he's using the draft and staying with these guys in front. We heard about that in our, when being told about this race earlier on. Watch out for the drafting. That's going to be a big factor around it. If we do have a breakaway for the top 3, it's quite quiet, actually, down the rest of the field there. Ford seemingly just about on the back of Lexus. They were another team that I was told to look out for in this. Here, look at this straight line speed of this Audi. Maybe this is why Martin was thinking, yeah, okay, I'll just let him through, I'll get him back again. So let's see now if Martin in the Audi thinks to go back by. So into the draft there, up into 6th, nice and early, I think. And off to the left he goes. He's still going to try and pull past the Porsche now. It's a drag race down to Kemmel. I won't be surprised if we see Martin pull out of this. Let's see, coming up to Kemmel now, braking zone. No, looks to the inside. It's side by side then. And the Audi tries going round the outside. That front-wheel drive car's going to struggle in these slower corners, but the Cayman now has the inside from there. And BMW might sneak by as well. They've got the run. They weren't slowed up coming through. They come now down to Rivage. But no, Audi still in 2nd place. And that would have been nice on the tyres there, Tom.
My goodness me, that is hugely impressive from all of these drivers. Great racing between Porsche and Audi, and it has allowed BMW to close up, as you said there, Jimmy, coming down through turn 9 of X, down the run in towards Pouon, riding on board with Nicolas Rubelar, and he is in the pound seats to take advantage. If anything goes wrong between Porsche and Audi, they're all going to be ducking into the pit lane at the end of this one, so it will all come to a head, but it depends on what strategy they opt for. Are Porsche and Audi going to go for the medium or the hard compound of tyres? Will BMW save the softs to the end, go on to the hard compound of tyres as well in the mid stages, in the hope that they can stick with Porsche and Audi, then have the soft rubber towards the end and try and pounce ahead?
Well, I think basically the idea here is just stay with a drafting partner, because it's worth a lot of time around here, believe it or not. Now, you might have think, well, why is only these 3 at the top of the field right now? The rest of the guys, of course, coming to the end as well, especially those in the hard compound tyre. We'll see them flourish in the end of the race when they come onto the soft compound, but of course that will be all revealed very shortly. We're still on board here with the BMW M4 coming up towards Blanchimont, I forgot what it was. I was going to say Radion, people would have beat me up if I said that. And here we are then, a little bit of a lift on the way through. Great to have that telemetry there to give you an idea of what the drivers are doing. And then heavy on the brakes coming to the bus stop, and now all the cars are going to peel off to the right-hand side of the circuit, come into the pit lane and get a fresh set of Michelin tyres.
So into the pit lane we come then, the first pit stops for these drivers now. Who are going to opt for what? Now, there you go, exactly what I said. The top three going on to the whole combat of tyres in the middle stage of this one. What about Toyota? Which way are they going to go, as well as Aston Martin and Lexus onto the soft combat of tyres here for Toyota? So they're in P4. They were kind of all in no man's land at the moment, not really close enough to attack in front, and also having to defend from behind, crucially here as well. So a difficult position on the soft combat of tyres, try and bridge that gap down to the top three.
So the problem Toyota are going to have now is, while they're going to be on the faster compound of tyre, they're going to have to get by on track as well, and I can guarantee you none of the top three are going to want to give up a position. So whilst they have the opportunity to use the power of the soft tyre, or I should say the grip of the soft tyre, whether they use it to full potential before catching these guys remains to be seen. But here we are then. Porsche, of course, retain the lead. We've had a driver swap as well. It's Mr. Bayliss, now Tristan Bayliss in the car. And then behind him, the Audi, who's now going for the overtake, is Hayden Hunter looking to the outside. Can he do anything into Kemmel? We've seen the Audi not quite strong enough to overtake around the outside, usually using the straight line speed there, and again stuck on the outside. Cayman has the inside for this corner, but will be on the outside for that. And Audi there, right the way around the outside. A great move by Hayden Hunter, and that of course has allowed BMW to get back into the fray as well, coming down to Rivage. It's not over yet. Audi go defensive, almost cut the nose off the Porsche in front, and they're just about right in the middle of the circuit. Porsche go back up the inside now. Guys, you've still got 7 laps of this race left yet, and of course Audi forced off now into X, and BMW going to have a good run out of here, but Porsche take back the lead from Audi. Yeah, they're getting a bit fussy out there, Tom.
They need to be careful as well, because if they keep squabbling, keep an eye out for Toyota. Soft combat of tyres, only 3.5 seconds down the road. There's a lot of time to be lost and a lot for them to lose here as well, crucially. So going through the left, how do we go? In towards that Fagnes chicane is Audi, and Hayden Hunter going to think about a move. You can see defensive there from Tristan Bayliss, who's behind the wheel. That'll compromise his run. There is Toyota in P4. And I'm going to keep an eye on the lap times and the sector times between these guys and just give you an idea as to how much different it is between them.
If you just watch the time, it's coming down visibly. We're at 2.3 seconds, it was 2.7 seconds just a second ago. And there it is in the background. You can see all 4 now of the top 4 cars are in your shot. We're looking back here from the Porsche Cayman, our current leader on lap 5 here at Spa, and race 1 at Sydney. Great to be here in Sydney. An awesome place, I think, for a race, as they say, a little bit further south. But coming now through Blanchimont again, and this was not line astern at the moment, Tom, isn't it? It's anyone's call. Coming down to the bus stop again. Porsche looking to the inside to defend. Audi trying to find a way through. BMW trying to do the same thing at the moment. But as you said, Tom, look behind. 1.5 seconds now to Toyota.
Well, the thing is, as well, Audi are in that really unfortunate position. They're trying to attack in front, and they've got to defend from behind and watch their mirrors. So Hayden Hunter doing an absolutely fantastic job to keep it at the moment ahead of Randall Hayward, who we ride on board with. Down into towards La Source we go. Meanwhile, Ford are going down the order, so they look like they've had some strife. No, Mercedes-Benz, in fact, as well. So I'm wondering what's happening here. Maybe we've got an issue with our timing screen. Incident involving Porsche and Audi was under investigation for illegal blocking. No further action will take place on that one. But coming up the top we go once again onto this Kemmel straight. A slight lift there for Randall Hayward as he gets a bit of understeer over through the top of Radion. And look at Toyota. They are ready to pounce. That gap has come down from 3.5 seconds at the end of lap 5 to now 1 second. This is absolutely phenomenal. We know that Toyota's not the fastest car in a straight line, but once he gets into the slipstream, as we look at Porsche now defending again from Audi, side by side they come. Porsche hold on to the race lead ahead of the German manufacturer. Here come BMW, and here come Toyota on the soft combat of tyres. So we've got a 4-way scrap for the lead at the halfway stage here.
And just like that, Toyota now make this 4 cars, as you say, Tom, scrapping for lead. BMW caught on the outside. That's 1 already marked off there for the Toyota, making very short work of BMW, and now almost running into the back of the Audi coming through X, just carrying so much more speed through there. But you look at that straight line speed in Audi Senior. Not quite, though, as we come now down to Buon. And again, Toyota, watch us through here. They have a much better exit from the corner. Might have a go down to the Fagnes chicane. I think, again, the Audi will just about be able to pull ahead for now and just keep the car there. But Toyota goes the inside round in that car at the moment, makes the move, lunges up the inside, parks it on the apex there. A great block pass, we call that there. And now Toyota go into chase of Porsche. it's only going to be a matter of time, Tom.
And you were saying, Jimmy, as well about finding a way past those competitors. That is exactly what Ryan Darouche is able to do. It's phenomenal from the Frenchman. Look at the run he gets out of Stabilo. He's run wide, though. He's onto the curb. That's going to compromise his drive. He made a bit of a mistake there, but he ducks back into the slipstream. Doesn't lose too much time. If he can line something up into the bus stop, he'll be in a good position there. But he's got Hayden Hunter in that Audi ready to pounce, following that slight error from the Frenchman. So through Blanchimont we go. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move up and towards that bus stop, and he's going to have to be quite careful. Hard on the brakes we go, but look at the difference in grip. He's going to get a great run, surely, coming out of this chicane. The significant difference in the tyre performance between the hard and medium compound of tyres is very evident to see, and now, surely, Rayan is in a good position to attack.
Let's see what happens then, coming down to the source. And not quite close enough to send it up the inside here, but again, he'll get a better exit. He might even have a look coming down to Eau Rouge here. He's got the run. I think he's going to be patient for now. He's going to put him behind the Cayman, or is he? Looking at the rear quarter panel. Oh, squeeze there between the Porsche and the wall. So close. Has to back out a little bit to avoid scraping the wall on the right. Now we go over the top of Radeon. Straight liner over here, right into the slipstream of the Porsche. And that Porsche's quick in the straight line. Toyota's struggling somewhat. Can he get close enough for a lunge up towards Lake Com? Porsche certainly thinks so. Going into the inside to defend. Will we see Ryan Darouche look to the inside? No, he tried to send him a dummy there, but Porsche, having none of it, sends it round the outside. Can he get it done? What a move by Ryan Darouche. He has it there, I think. He's still on the outside, and he is through. The Frenchman. The Toyota absolutely sends it round the Porsche and goes up into first place.
Phenomenal stuff from Ryan Darouche, a masterclass of driving from the Frenchman. Tristan Bayliss in P2 doing a good job there just to give him enough racing room. It was aggressive but fair as he chopped the nose off of the Toyota, running a little bit wide though. He's going to have to be a bit careful of that there, Ryan. If he takes too many liberties with track limits, the stewards will deem a penalty, and that of course is a time penalty that you serve on the circuit in real time. Keep an eye out for the yellow markers either side of the circuit. That's where the penalty zone is, and if you are deemed to have caused an incident or exceeded track limits or something along the lines of that, that is where you will serve it. So it's getting very interesting now, and now it's all about Toyota and how much they can bridge the gap, because they've only, or increased that gap I should say rather, because they've only got another lap in which to be able to do so.
They've got to run away now, get as big a gap as possible, because as you say, they'll be going to the hard compound tyre after this. Here's a replay. This is going on behind what we just saw on screens. Audi and BMW, there's pretty much the same thing happening in the background. BMW lit around the outside of the Audi, got that done as well. It's a shame we missed that because we were focusing on the lead, but equally a fantastic move there from that's Randall Haywood in the BMW. So there you go, it's all changing everywhere.
Look at the gap now being more pronounced between these hard compound of tyres. This is what we're used to seeing in the mid stages of the race. It kind of settles down a bit. Well, it does when Toyota are on the soft compound of tyres at least. Meanwhile, Alfa Romeo, they've made some good ground on the soft compound of tyres. They opted for the same strategy as Toyota. Now up into P7 ahead of the medium shod Aston Martin. Behind the wheel of that Aston Martin is Fabien Portier. Note to mention for Portier, as Mercedes-Benz just get ahead of the British manufacturer, is of course that Portier only flew in and landed this morning. He had quite a few travel-related issues. Got in this morning, he's significantly tired, significantly jet-lagged, but is still holding his own down in P9.
So you want to see this determination there. Speaking of determination, that little Alfa against the brick that is the Mustang coming out of the source. Not going to win against the V8 in a straight line, I'm afraid, little Alfa, but it does have the advantage in the corners. Look at the straight line speed of that Ford now as we come down towards Eau Rouge. It snakes up the hill. It's a fantastic view when you're coming down from the source. And now, just in the draft, that will help the 4C try and get a bit closer. But the speed of this car is in the mid-section, so they need to try and get by as quick as they possibly can.
Yeah, the Alfa Romeo not known for being a quick car in a straight line. You can see the Ford there holding its own on the Camel Straight, even with the Alfa Romeo having the slipstream and not even close enough to make a move. But the soft compound of tyres into that corner is going to allow them. But Mercedes-Benz coming into pounce, and there's contact there as Alfa Romeo shuffle them out wide. And that is not going to be a very welcome sight at all for Bernie Valverde, the Costa Rican who is behind the wheel of the SLS AMG, gets biffed out wide and has now got all that hard work to do once again.
Just what I think what happened there is it was Daniel Solis in the Alfa right now. I think he just got a bit loose. It wasn't intentional, and of course when you get the slide on, you have to have a bit more room to correct it, and Mercedes, they were in that room, and that's when the contact happened. So you're on board now with the Mercedes-Benz. not really a great first race for them, really, given their performance last season. It's not been as aggressive. I think they are still owed to soft compound of tyre, though, and saying that, look who's getting up. Cody, Nikola Lukowski, of course, the Australian driver, known for being pretty much on the podium at every event last year, getting ready. So here's a replay of that. Now watch Alpha here on the left. They have to try and avoid Ford. And coming round to the left, yeah, just gets slightly sideways there, and there's nowhere to go. Definitely not intentional, but that is on Alpha there. We'll see if the stewards think that. And here is now that straight line. The straight line speed advantage is going to help the Ford, because Alpha have just snuck up the inside, but now it's uphill. This is where the V8 in the Ford is really going to come into play in the slipstream as well. They might even be able to get by before we get up towards Baltimore. Let's see on board with the Ford. A bit different seeing a 4C and a Ford Mustang next to each other. It's quite cool, actually. That's why I like the Group 4 racing. But you're seeing having to let off here. That Alpha really struggling in a straight line. And a quick reminder as well down the bottom there, use the hashtag Michelin FIA GTC to vote your Michelin driver of the day.
Or maybe it will be Danny Solomon. Oh, that move. Oh, hang on a minute. What's happening here? There was a bit of contact, wasn't there, between Ford and Alfa Romeo as they came into the pit lane. One trying to get ahead of the other and sneak through. It's a very tight pit entry. Now, here's Toyota. They, of course, are going onto the hard compound of tyres for the end of this race. And BMW onto the soft compound of tyres, so they're on the quickest compound, whereas Porsche, Audi are onto the medium tyres.
So Coque Lopez now in that BMW, and he pretty much has a run to the line on the car that's going to feel very quick indeed. There's a bit of a gap there. Cy Bishop, the New Zealand driver, getting into the car for Toyota. He's actually fitting in for Igor Fraga, who was he's racing over in New Zealand himself today. Actually won the race in his series. It was awesome. We had it up on the TV. It was great to see him do well. But he's filling the boots of Igor Fraga. We know quicker size and how good he is on those hard compound tyres from Nürburgring last year, so it's now up to him to defend 4 seconds to the guys behind. Can he do it? Well, we're going to have to find out. Here's Coque Lopez now on that soft compound tyre up the inside of Porsche. That Porsche driven by Matt Simmons, of course, ex-GT Academy driver and race driver, and he makes short work there of the Australian. And coming now down towards Rivage, Coque now has to set his sights on Toyota. 3.7 seconds in 4 laps. I reckon this is going to be easy for Coque.
We were saying, weren't we, that BMW could be a foregone conclusion with them being in a very good position. They've kept that gap at a constant over the course of this race. Smart driving by Nico Rubelar and Randall Haywood. Now Coque Lopez, the Spaniard, behind the wheel of that car, as Jimmy said, is in a very good position. And we saw how much that gap decreased between the soft compound of tyres and the hard compound of tyres with the likes of the stint we saw just before between Toyota, which now has allowed them to be in the race lead. Now it's Toyota having to defend, but of course they're on the hard tyres, which are significantly slower, and that gap has already come down by 0.4 of a second in the space of that corner.
That's right. And of course, Coque Lopez, one of the most consistent drivers from last year, always in the top 5, top 6 drivers. And given that now, of course, we know his speed here. He likes to hunt. He's a very aggressive driver, but very clean as well. You guys might remember his repechage race from the World Final, where he went from 12th to 3rd position without any penalties or any contact, just on-track moves. And it was an absolute pleasure to watch. I recommend going and check that out after this one.
Only competed in that one repechage race, believe it or not, over the course of 2019, which just shows how consistent he is. We should rename him Consistency Lopez, shouldn't we, really?
Oh, no, that's not fair on me and my list. Let's not be doing that.
So down in towards or up in towards, I should say, the bus stop chicane for the BMW. The brake discs glowing red, and look at Porsche there. They're not too far adrift here. They're doing a good job behind the wheel of that car at the moment. It is Matt Simmons. Meanwhile, a penalty being given to Mercedes-Benz. It goes from bad to worse. That is Cody Nikola Lukowski, who is behind the wheel due to contact with another car. Now, of course, we've just had the pit stop, and the stewards have had to have time to investigate that incident. So, was it Cody, or was it Bernie Valverde, who was in the car before?
Hard to tell, though. What I imagine's happened is Cody's on the soft compound tyre. He wants to make up time, maybe being a bit too aggressive. We didn't see them, just assuming that at the moment, but that's what I imagine would happen.
I tell you who's in a good position here, actually, Jimmy, is Lexus as well.
You're right.
Because they are in P5. They're only 1.3 seconds adrift of Audi, who are on the medium compound of tyres, and that could be very impressive indeed. Kanata Kawakami, the driver who is behind the wheel. So let's see what's going to happen to Lexus. They could get themselves into 4th position, potentially 3rd place, even on for a podium. Meanwhile, speaking of a podium and speaking of the battle for the race lead between Coque Lopez and Toyota, through into the Kemmel, off the Kemmel straight into Les Combes we go. And look, you can just see visibly how much different that grip is, the advantage that Coque Lopez has, and he's clearly going to try and send it down the inside into T8. They go side by side. Lopez on the inside in the BMW, and he goes through into the race lead on lap 10 out of 12 here at Spa-Francorchamps. That was brilliant, absolutely textbook. Didn't have to force a mistake from the Toyota with Cy Bishop, who is behind the wheel of that car at the moment, and now it is Lopez's race to lose as it stands.
There you go, so that's Coco Lopez. He now has a clear track ahead of him, soft compounder tyres underneath him, and I'm sure the fire from last year is still burning very brightly indeed. Meanwhile, as you said, Tom, Lexus are now coming up onto the back of Audi on a soft compounder tyre. The only car faster than them right now is BMW, who are leading, and right now in that Lexus, as we said, is Kawakami, a very quick guy. There he is there in the top left-hand corner of your screen, just concentrating as we now come out of Stavolo 1 into Stavolo 2. So the Audi struggle, we see on traction there, just can't get out the corner, and the Lexus has nowhere to go but to give it a little bit of a kiss coming out of Stavolo 2. But now watch that Audi. The straight line speed of the front-wheel drive Audi is very helpful for Lexus right now, because it's dragging it along up the hill. Let's just see if Audi can keep flat coming through Blanchimont. There's Toyota and Porsche. They're fighting as well. Cy Bishop just trying his best to keep Porsche behind on that hard compounder tyre. Cy looks to the outside, I think, just gives it up. I think Porsche to slot on by into second place. The Porsche up into second. In the background, Lexus and Audi. I think Lexus has just got that done. They have. So Lexus go up into fourth place and now are trying to chase down Toyota and Porsche. I think Lexus could very well finish in second here if they have a good last couple of laps.
That just goes to show the difference between the tyre compounds, as we've been alluding to over the course of the race, and Lexus now in a very good position to try and attack against the hard compound shod Toyota and the medium compound shod Porsche. Running on board with Toyota and Cy Bishop. Now, what is he going to be able to do? He's a bit of a sitting duck here, really, because he's got a medium compound tyre Porsche in front. He's on the hard tyres, the slowest out of the three compounds. You can see the difference in performance there, about 2.6 seconds a lap slower than the soft compound tyres. So this is surely going to be easy pickings for Kanata Kawakami, the Japanese driver who is behind the wheel of that Lexus. And of course, Lexus, Manufacturer Series champions of 2018, they know how to win a race.
Well, we said that, of course, at Nürburgring last year at our last World Tour event. They thought was going to be a sitting duck for the car behind, but did a fantastic job defending now. I'm sure he wants to channel some of that as we come down to Rivage. You see Lexus there looking very, very feisty at the moment. So we'll see what Kawakami can do. Looks up the inside of Rivage, and that's it. Done deal. Not much Cy Bishop can do on that hard compounder tyre. The grip difference really is massive there. And you see Cy just trying to get on the throttle, trying to defend, but he can't quite manage it. And that means that Lexus now go up into a podium position in this first race. There's only about a lap and a half left. Can they chase down Porsche and make it one better? Kawakami on an absolute mission right now in the Lexus. And it's great to see the 2018 Manufacturers Champions back in form. Had a bit of a rough year last year, I think it's fair to say. So to see him come back strong on the first World Tour event here in Sydney is a great pleasure.
I tell you, one man who'll be very pleased with the result that Lexus are possibly going to get because of their performance here is Andrew Brooks, a driver who was just absolutely rotten last year with bad luck. It just didn't go well for him at all in the World Tour. And I think his best result, I think he got like 1, 2 top 10 finishes, something along the lines of that, or top 5 finishes. It was just a really, really big disappointment for the Canadian driver. And now you can see Kanata Kawakami, his teammate, really putting the pressure onto the Porsche, and there is nothing that the Porsche can do. Side by side we come into Blanchimont. That is a brave move on the inside for Kawakami, but he's got so much more grip and so much more speed, and now he has got second position in this race here as well. Meanwhile, keep an eye out for Toyota, who are looking to potentially try and attack against Audi. Into the bus stop chicane we go. Not close enough between them, but maybe they can get a good slingshot out of the bus stop and down to La Source.
Yeah, Audi have actually gained a position there from Toyota there. Toyota falling back as the race goes on. Not much Cy can do. He's at a tyre disadvantage. There's a bit of a gap, thankfully, for him behind him. But now we come on to the last lap of the first race here at Sydney. Now, I wonder, it's 2.6 seconds to Coco Lopez. I don't think that gap's going to be able to come down. So here's what happened here between Audi and Toyota. We just missed it on our screen. You see Audi there, straight line speed of the Audi. Kato there making short work of Cy Bishop in the Toyota, and up into fourth position just like that.
Nicely done there from Toshiro Kato, makes his way through into P4. Meanwhile, Jaguar and Ford are very close to one another behind. Of course, Jaguar and Ford both on the soft compounded tyres as things stand. Aston Martin not too far adrift there as well. It's actually quite an interesting trio of manufacturers driving for positions, and that's for 6th place they're battling for at the moment on this final lap. So we'll keep an eye out on that and see if anything does change. And now Ford are indeed through against Jaguar into P6, but Jaguar, as you can see, as the manufacturers fluctuate on our time timing screen for position. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. Meanwhile, there is the live points ranking on the top right-hand corner of your screen. Of course, that does reflect the result of this first race. 12 points will it be for BMW for the win, 10 points for Lexus, 8 points for Porsche, and so on and so on. However, the next race, the final, is double points, so bear that in mind. It's certainly not over here.
Pretty much anyone now in the top 5 has a chance in the grand final, which is why we like it. It keeps things spicy, as we say. But Coque Lopez, if anything, has been pulling away from Lexus behind. Now, Coque, I think infamous, or maybe now famous within the GT community. Every time he comes to one of his events, he's got a different haircut. I think he's actually retained the same haircut from Monaco this time, which is maybe retaining...
Oh, no, he had the blonde hair in Monaco.
Oh,
he's back to brown hair.
Oh, he's brown now?
He is, yeah.
Okay, I can't keep track of that.
No, it's like Jacques Villeneuve, isn't it?
Oh, well, hopefully his career doesn't go the way of Jacques Villeneuve as well, shall we say. But to be honest, right now, it's going to take quite a lot for BMW to throw this one away. It's only a couple of corners away now from the end. Coque Lopez, of course, at the wheel at the moment, coming through Blanchimont for the last time. Easy flat through there in the soft compounder tyre. No hint of a lift, 7th gear for good measure as we come down towards the bus stop. Nice and easy now, Coque, this is yours to lose. Comes through the right, goes through the left, and that's it. BMW and Coque Lopez will take the first win of the year here in the World Tour at Sydney. Across the line they go. First the BMW, Lexus comes storming through the field for second, and Porsche will round out the podium in third place. Audi P4, Toyota P5 with Cy Bishop. It's a drag race to the line in the background. Jaguar just taking P6 from Aston Martin, and there is Coque there. Nice thumbs up, that's half the job done, he says. And there's Nico and Randall as well, looking very happy with that, and well, what a finish that was there for them. They're going to be very pleased with this first race.
Well, that was hugely impressive from all of those drivers. Mega stuff from Nicholas Rubelar, Randall Hayward and Coque Lopez to take first blood in the Manufacturer Series here tonight. You can see all the teams demonstrating around there. You can see our rig here as well. We've got an in-rig analysis coming up with Jimmy Broadbent in just a few moments' time, breaking down the second sector of Mount Panorama. That is going to be hugely exciting. Stick around for that in just a couple of moments. And I wonder if you're going to be anywhere near as quick and committed as some of our GT competitors here tonight.
Well, thanks for putting the pressure on, Tom. No, probably not. I can say that quite confidently. But I think it'll be a nice sort of... You'll like it, I think. It'll be a bit of fun.
Surprise of the race, then, for me, Lexus.
Definitely.
Has to be. That was just brilliant. I mean, they just snuck their way up there. They kept themselves clean over the course of that race. And it was brilliant. It was mega. They started in 6th, ended in 2nd, and it was all down to the strategy and, of course, the performance of their drivers just to keep their noses clean, keep themselves out of trouble. Finishing in 2nd is a great way to start the evening.
I think they just timed their tyres properly, and when they were on the soft compounder tyre, it was just... They just had space, and that's what they needed. And of course, second place, I think, realistically, is the best they could have done. They got it, and that puts them in a strong position now for the final.
Let's have a look at some replays, shall we, then, from that race. On the opening lap, it was a great battle between Porsche and BMW. Porsche, of course, on the soft compounder tyres, found their way through up the inside of Nicholas Rubelar in the Beamer. There is Ankel Inestrosa, looking calm and composed, as he normally is. Then he fancied a bit of a snip at the inside of Martin Grady. A look over to the left, as he knew that sadly, was the end of his race lead at that point. Nothing that he could do, as we ride on board with him going through that right-hander. It was still brilliant, though, to see them dueling it out for position, and it allowed BMW on that medium tyre in the opening stages to battle. And then you can see all three of these top three on the hard tyres, and it was in the background where we were looking at that point because Toyota came into the picture.
That's right, and of course Toyota were looking pretty promising, really, for maybe a potential race win here, but couldn't quite get that done with our strategy. Here is Toyota, and there's Reign Darouche. This is probably the move of the race for me. Round the outside here, such confidence there. Was initially quite far offline there, but had the speed to bring it back. There it is there, look at that. You can tell, look at the control there, it's fantastic, love to see that.
Down in towards turn 8 we went. There's the BMW up the inside of the Toyota. See if we can hear some team radio there from those guys in just a few moments. And you can see as they come over the timing line, BMW taking a well-deserved victory, Lexus in 2nd, Porsche in 3rd. Team radio in just a couple of moments. Let's have a listen and see what these drivers had to say.
Carrerón, viejo. 25-8. Carrerón, buenísima, loco. Muy buena, weón.
Qué grande, Nico.
Yeah, Coque Lopez remonstrating there with Nicolas Rubelar, his fellow Spanish speaker, and then those two just congratulating one another on a very well-deserved victory. Team BMW taking the first spoils of the evening ahead of Lexus and Porsche. Audi, Toyota in P4 and P5. Jaguar versus Aston Martin to the line, just a few hundredths of a second. Of course, the race results reflect the points rankings after race one. The grand final, of course, though, Jimmy, double points.
That's right. That could be an opportunity for some of the teams that didn't do too well in the first race, like Mercedes-Benz, down in 9th position.
That is hugely surprising. I mean, given their form last year, I know that the BOP has changed, but that is really, really tough for them to come to terms with.
Definitely, and this is when the grand final is going to be important for them, because if they can manage to get a double point scenario and get a good result there, they could maybe bring it back, but we'll have to see.
Oh, anything can happen, as we know, in motor racing, and it usually does as well, just to spice things up. Let's go over to Julia, who is with the Gran Turismo Series creator, Kazunori Yamauchi.
That's right. Yes, I'm here with the man who brings all the magic to the Gran Turismo franchise. So, Kazunori, great to have you here. We're now in the 3rd season of our GT Championships. Are you excited for everything that's due to happen this year?
今年、3年目のGT チャンピオンシップになるわけですけど、今後の展開に楽しみを抑えられないって感じです。
いやなんかね、今のね BMW の活躍もそうなんだけれども、これまでの2年間のねワールドツアーとはまた違った展開がね今年起きそうで、ちょっと楽しみですね。
Yeah, just watching the performance of the BMW drivers, I have a feeling that we're going to see some different turnout of turn of events in the next next upcoming season or this season now, than we have seen in the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, definitely. You had a very big presentation for some of the Aussie press yesterday. Do you think you could just sort of quickly summarize what you told them yesterday?
僕が昨日メディアの皆さんにプレゼンテーションしたのは、2018年初年度と去年の2019年を比べてみるとね、このブロードキャストを見ているお客さんの数が大体 300% ぐらい伸びてるんですね。そういったお話をさせていただきました。
So yesterday I was telling the media in a short presentation that between the 2018 season and the 2019 season, we actually saw an increase of about 300% in the number of spectators for this championship.
That's a lot of number. You guys love watching a bit of GT, right? Let's hear it. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Of course you do.
Thank you.
Obviously, one of our golden boys of Gran Turismo, Igor Fraga, isn't here. He's actually just round the corner in New Zealand having a bit of a race today. I was wondering, did you watch the race and what did you think of his performance?
今日ニュージーランドすぐ先でイゴールがレースしてるわけですけど、山内さんは彼のレース見ましたか？どう思いましたか？
ちょうどねこのイベントの始まる直前にイゴールのレースフィニッシュしたんですけど、彼見事に優勝して。シリーズチャンピオンにまた一歩ね近づきましたよね。でグランツーリスモ出身のドライバーがそういうリアルなレーシングシリーズで活躍しているのを見るのは、僕だけじゃなくてねここにいらっしゃる皆さんにとってハッピーなことなんじゃないかなと思います。
Yeah, so I just watched his race finish just before the start of this event here, and he won his race. He's one step closer to becoming series champion, and it's great.
Right?
It's satisfying. It's great to see these guys doing real good in real life races as well.
I mean, we're all so proud. Let's give it up for the creator of Gran Turismo, Kazunori Yamauchi-san. Big round of applause. Now we're going to chuck it over to Jimmy for some special analysis.
Well, thank you very much, Julia. The guys here at GT have foolishly given me a rig to play with for a bit. So what we're going to do is talk you through a bit of what's happening coming up in the next race at Mount Panorama. So I'm currently here right now in my Group 3 car, as I nearly got off the course. This is live, by the way, so be nice to me. And I'm going to talk you through the second sector, because Sector 1 and Sector 3 here at Bathurst, you can argue it's easy enough, but the second sector, probably one of the most challenging pieces of racetrack in the world. So we're coming up now down towards Griffin's Corner Well, that little bit of a left there, bit of road, use that as a braking point. We go down to third gear. Try and get as close as you can to this curb on the inside. Try not to touch it too much, then let the car just drift out to the left. Now, you see here to the left and to the right, these concrete walls. That's a big feature of Bathurst and why it's one of the most fun tracks and most challenging tracks to get through, I think, in GT Sport. Now, coming up to the cutting, I'm going slow through it just to demonstrate the line and whatnot. See, cutting here, nice cambered corner. Get into the inside there, use that, and then try and accelerate in a straight line. Without TC, that might be a bit tricky, so be careful with your right foot. Now we come up the hill, and line is absolutely everything up here. It's a bit of a lift through here in race trim, and again, drive at the wall, almost as if you're going to hit it, but then don't hit it. Easy advice, right? Same through here. Line is everything, and commitment is everything. If you're not committed over the mountain, it's going to bite you. Turn in late here, and then get on the power nice and easily, nice and early as well. Now we come up to McPhillamy Park and turn just before the crest. Let the turning happen before the car unsettles going over the crest, and come to the curb on the right. Just a small little kiss like you would for your granny. And then we come back downhill. Watch out now coming downhill through the S's, because gravity is now working against us, and the back end of the car is going to want to switch around. Now we come down to the dip, a great section for here. Throw the car in like that, and then you accelerate hard on the way out. And then just try and make sure you take the line of least resistance coming down to Forest Elbow. Dab of the brakes on the way in, then we straight line brake through here, through the elbow. And again, look to the right, that's where you're aiming for to come off. Just touch that wall almost on the exit. And that is the second sector at Mount Panorama. Now imagine doing that at race speed, 20 laps, with some of the best drivers in the world around you. You get an idea of just how crazy this track is. But before we get into Mount Panorama, let's head back to a reminder of what we had last year of our grand final in Monaco.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
My taxi is coming in like 2 hours.
The journey to the 2020 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships.
I've been thinking a lot about last year and everything that happened, especially Monaco.
It was brilliant. Tons of action and a visit from Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton?
He announced his new DLC.
Have you beaten his ghost lap yet? Then he paired up with Fraga and participated in the Pro-Am race, finishing in a somewhat disappointing 3rd place.
Fraga should have taken that as a bit of a warning sign. In the Nations Cup, he lost control of his vehicle, dropped from 2nd to 12th position, dashing his hopes for a back-to-back championship.
Could this get any more dramatic?
Yes.
Yes. Kokuban was also eliminated.
Then on Saturday, in addition to revealing a sketch of the Mazda R8 Vision GT3 concept, we also saw some brilliant racing action. The story of Toyota versus Mercedes. Audi, unfortunately, they had a day to forget.
Aston Martin on the inside! Oh, no!
A special mention for Coque Lopez.
For his special hairdo.
He made quite the impact, both in the venue and out on track as well. We saw some brilliant cars at the venue. But the star of the show was, of course, the Lamborghini V12.
Just, look at it.
As far as the racing was concerned, Mikael Hazal absolutely
dominated.
He won every single race.
He finished first in all 4 races.
He was crowned
the 2019
World Champion.
I tell you what, though, one thing I don't miss from Monaco is the weather. Sunny, baby!
Check this out! Woo!
That was fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah, those guys are very, very professional, I think.
Goodness me. Well, back to the action here in Sydney. You can, of course, vote for our Michelin Driver of the Day on social media as well. Hashtag Michelin FIA GTC. If there's a particular driver that has stood out for you here tonight, or maps will stand out for you in the grand final race we've got coming up, that is the time to do so. On any social media platforms, hashtag Michelin FIA GTC with your driver of the day. Get involved in the conversation, and we'll be announcing who that is and interviewing them in our extra lap post show later on tonight.
Yes, definitely. And here we have on the screen right now the winner of our Tag Heuer VIP weekend competition, Marcus Kroberger there. Hey Marcus, how you doing, mate? Hope you're having a good time. Great to have you here. And he got to basically got to come here for free. That's all right, isn't it? Come to Sydney.
Yeah, not bad, exactly. Business class flights all the way over.
That's better than me, that is.
I know. God, we'll have to get you an upgrade next time, Jimmy lad. But look, what a phenomenal prize. I've flown all the way to Sydney to witness our world tour. If you're a GT fan, it's pretty mega, isn't it?
I tell you what, you can't really get a feel for these World Tours unless you're here. It's a different experience, I think, and I'm really glad to be with such a great audience here. Well, loads of you out there watching. There you go, hear him in the background. Thank you for that, guys. You make me sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Geeing them right up, Jimmy. You're doing a good job, son.
But it really is great to have a live audience here because you get a real feel for it, the passion behind it, and it's just a great place to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, without further ado, let's get into the racing action, shall we? Take a closer look at the circuit we're going to be competing on for the grand final of the Manufacturers Series. It is Mount Panorama in Group 3 cars here tonight as well, and I am excited for this because, as we saw just a few moments ago, Jimmy, it's a circuit that rewards the brave and the committed.
Bathurst, not Bathurst. Let's get that right now before we get told off by the natives here. Great circuit, of course, lots of fun to drive around. Here's our tyre strategy, a bit different from the first race. It's still a minimum of 4 laps on each tyre, but it's a bit of a longer race here. So when you use your tyre and how long you use it for is really going to come into play. Now, of course, as well as that, we do have tyre wear to contend with, which is why you can't just go out on the soft compounder tyre, do a million laps and just have a good time with it. We think here the most likely strategy is 8 laps on the soft, 8 laps on the medium, and then 4 laps on the hard because they're the slowest compound.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see there, of course, fuel is something to consider here. Unlike in the first race, you've got about 16 laps there and thereabouts from a full tank. So they are going to have to be a little bit careful with fuel consumption over the course of this race here tonight because they will need to put another tank of fuel in, or at least do a bit of a splash and dash. There's 20 laps over the course of this race, and it's only 16 laps is what you'll get. You can see there the different tyre compounds, 20 laps for these drivers as well.
As you see, we'll just very quickly go over tyre wear once more. 5 times tyre wear. So 1 lap on your tyres, it's 5 laps on the tyre wear, as we like to say around here. And there's Bathurst there on the left, looking nice and tricky indeed. So, looking forward to this one. Bathurst is always a good laugh, I reckon.
Well, you said in the last race, Jimmy, anybody in the top 5 in the standings has a chance of winning this one. Double points to remind you in the grand final. Let's see, shall we, who is going to emerge on top and be crowned our first ever Manufacturer Series champions of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships. Oh, it is good to be back in 2020. It is time for the grand final of the Manufacturer Series for World Tour 1 of the FIA Gran Turismo Championship. Starting on pole position, the winners of the last race is BMW with Nicolas Rubelar behind the wheel.
Then in Lexus we have Kawakami, the fantastic result for the 2018 champions. Good to have them back.
In third position, Team Porsche with Angel Inestrosa behind the wheel. Alongside them is Team Audi, Toshihiro Kato behind the wheel of that car.
Then down there on the third row, Toyota, our 2019 champions, Rain DeRouche there, starting the car for them. And then behind them, Jaguar, the British brand, can't help but feel proud. Nato there, the Brazilian driver, starting the car.
Aston Martin with Jay Wong behind the wheel. Get that wrong right because there's 2 Wongs here competing this weekend. Ford in P8 with Armin Aga Khan. Good to see him back in action here this weekend. Now, Mercedes-Benz, work to do for them. Bernie Valverde behind the wheel of that car, starting down in P9. Chevrolet lining up alongside them. Matt McEwen in P10. The final row of the grid, Alfa Romeo is in 11th position. Difficult race at the office for them. And then Hyundai down in P12, as you can see on the grid. So, what are your predictions for this one here, Jimmy? First look at the tyre strategy.
Yeah, very interesting there. BMW have gone for the soft compounder tyres. They want to try and break away early, make a gap, go over the mountain, just put in some good lap times. That's what you want to do when you're at the front of the field. However, next 3 after them, they're on the medium compounder tyres. So they won't be able to catch up BMW at the start, but maybe looking to play the long game a bit here. It's not quite as simple as the last race. They have to make those tyres last. And interestingly, everyone down the field from there, apart from my Hyundai, opting for the hard compound.
BMW trying to break away early, I think, is the plan here on that soft compound of tyres. They're the only team, as you said, Jimmy, that have opted for that one. So down through into Murray's corner, two 90-degree left-handers, of course, of Murray's corner, and then the first corner of Hell corner. They're a Team Toyota down in P5. We know how strong their Group 3 machine is, but they're on the hard compound of tyres, so you shouldn't expect them to be too quick in the initial stages. But the grand final of the Manufacturer Series for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships here in Sydney is underway. Lights out, and we go racing here for the final time tonight in the Manufacturer Series, down towards Hell corner for the first time, and BMW lead the way, but Porsche on the inside versus Lexus. They're through into P2 already, and off goes Jaguar at Hell corner. They have had an absolute shocker from P6 down into 12th place. That is going to be a very difficult day at the office for them to try and turn their fortunes around.
Optimistic move from Porsche there, but it definitely worked, getting past Lexus nice and early and trying to get into the pursuit of BMW then. Coming through Griffins for the first time. Porsche go wide there, as do Lexus and do Audi. I think they got a little bit out of shape, and Audi now pulling alongside, looking to try and get up into third position. They have done, so now Audi have moved up into third. They've got by Lexus a disastrous start there for the 2018 champions, from second to fourth before even halfway through the lap, and the Audi driven right now by Kato, looking very, very quick. They're just grazing the wall on the left. A great onboard view of just how quick it is through here. Of course, I went a little bit slower on my little run just there, but now you're going to get at full speed. Throw the car to the inside here from Philemy through across now Skyline, and then we go down the S's. This is where these mid-engine cars get a bit scary, but controlled fantastically there by the Japanese driver. And now to the dipper. Throw the car to the left, stamp on the throttle, and let traction take over.
Look at that, you can see the understeer there from Tashiro Kato as he came through that corner. The front just not gripping as he wanted to, dropping a little bit further back from Team Porsche as they come through the left-hander of the the Forest Elbow down in towards that Comrod straight. You can see the car class on the left-hand side of your screen. Just to remind you, Group 3 cars, fully fledged race cars, wider bodies and aerodynamic cars, but of course they are equivalent to the real-life FIA GT3 class, but it does give us the opportunity to have a few fictional cars in and amongst the mix here as well. So it does make things very exciting indeed. Down in towards the left-hander we go of the chicane, and you can see there Lexus putting the pressure now onto the back of Team Audi. Both of those drivers on the medium compound of tyres. Meanwhile, the advantage of the soft tyre for Team BMW is very evident indeed. 2.3 seconds out. Now here's what happened, I think, to Team Jaguar, and it's going to be a complete missile move from Mercedes-Benz. Late on the brakes, into Ford, into Jaguar, straight off at the first turn, and dear oh dear, Bernie Valverde, a slap on the wrist there for him, and a 4-second penalty to boot.
A couple of the Mercedes drivers have been playing with too much of the bumper cars here at Luna Park. That's not really how you want to start the race, and 4 seconds, that's pretty much going to put paid to any sort of race effort before it even gets going. And from bad to worse for Mercedes, really. It's not been good for them, this, but we'll see if they can come back. Of course, the race is longer. It's a 20-lap race here at Bathurst. You know, it's a long race, so there's a lot that can still happen, but that's not a very good way to start, I can tell you that for free.
9th in the first race, down in 10th at this stage in the second race is really not where they want to be at all. You're absolutely spot on there, Jimmy. So, well, let's see whether they can turn things around, but how fortunes do change in motor racing, and it certainly has done for the German mark here. Meanwhile, Audi having a pretty good run there in P3, soaking up that pressure from Team Lexus at the moment. It's Kato, of course, behind the wheel of the Audi, behind the wheel of the driver in 4th place, of course, of the Lexus is Kanata Kawakami at the moment, who put in that meteoric stint right at the end of the race on the soft compound of tyres to bring them up into P2, and he's doing great stuff out there so far.
So right now, let's have a look at Audi. With Lexus right behind them at the moment in 4th position. And if you're Audi right now, what you want to be doing is trying to get by Porsche as quick as you can. If you can do, of course. Porsche looking to be quite speedy out there at the moment. There is Team Lexus there, just having a little bit of a chat between them, probably discussing a little bit of strategy. That's a really great element about these races. We do have team radio, and the drivers can talk to each other during the race to say, you know what, block that guy, let's do this, let's pit now. Adds a real element to it, and I think it makes this championships a lot more, I guess, incredible, a lot closer to real life.
Interesting, of course, to note that we've got to think about fuel in this race as well. Are you going to, say, for example, pit after lap 4, then put 16 laps, or then fill up the tank, rather, I should say, to the end of the race and possibly have to conserve a little bit towards the end? Or are you going to opt to go a couple of pit stops in and have a splash and dash at the end of the race and be able to go flat out?
Well, this is where being Lexus might be handy, because you've got a tow from the Audi down Conrod, that mountain straight here as well, coming out of Halcon, kicking up a bit of dust there. Great view view here from the rear of the Audi, but if you're in the Lexus right now, you can just basically chill out. You can get off the throttle a little bit, be easy. Kawakami there, they're looking, well, there's his team Audi, but Kawakami behind the Lexus will be just lifting a little bit, I think, in the draft, just saving that little bit of fuel, because of course the less time you spend in the pits refueling, the more time you're out on track, and that's the important thing. Replay on your screen right now. Here's Ford and Chevy coming through the chase. Very scary place to go side by side. Ford just slots it up the inside there, and then Hyundai in the background fancy a bit of action as well, and they go up the inside as well. So Chevy, they lose 2 places in 1 corner. That's gonna sting a little bit.
Yeah, Matt McEwen behind the wheel of that Chevrolet at the moment, down in P9. So. Worth bearing in mind that they are on the hard competent tyres, whereas Hyundai in front are on the medium tyres. But that was very impressive on the Ford, nonetheless, from Armin Aga Khan. As you said, good to have him here in the World Tour. And in that Ford GT, sitting now in 7th position in this race, coming down through in towards Forest Elbow. Hard on the brakes they go, and just look at that commitment there, launching it and aiming it towards the wall on the outside. Brilliant to see Nicolas Rubelar. And interestingly, they've opted for the same driver strategy in that second race. In the first race, we had Rubelar, Haywood and Lopez. In this race, we had exactly the same lineup. So after Rubelar, it'll be Haywood, then it'll be Koke Lopez. See if they've got any team radio going on here.
Nice and quiet, just letting Nico get on with it. I think at this point, it's what you've got to do. If you're that driver right now and you've been told, right, soft tyres, push, go as fast as you can. You don't want anyone talking to you. No, it's a shut up, I know what I'm doing sort of moment. So, but I'll tell you what, Nico is about the furthest person in the world to say that from somebody. He's so calm, so nice and polite off chat as well. A little bit of a chat there between Koke Lopez and Nicolas Rubelar. Unfortunately, my Spanish isn't up to scratch, Tom. I don't know about yours.
I mean, I lived in Spain for 2 years, mate, but I tell you what, I'm still struggling with English.
I've got a Spanish girlfriend, mate. We're both pretty bad.
No, we've made a complete mess of that. I tell you what I loved about that, though, on screen was the live telemetry we had, the live data for the graphic. That was pretty cool, wasn't it? To see how the gap was fluctuating between those manufacturers. Meanwhile, speaking of manufacturers that are squabbling amongst one another, Ford, Hyundai and Chevrolet still battling for 7th position. Ford now on the defensive against Hyundai, who have got the medium compound of tyres, and this is nice to see for Hyundai as well, because they have had a torrid time in the World Tours as of late, and they're doing a good job as they pull alongside on the mountain straight, coming in towards the right-hander, late on the brakes for Hyundai, and around the outside for Connor Healy through into P7 ahead of the Ford then, so that is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, a bit of a tyre advantage there would make that a little bit easier, but still a fantastic move. Love to see people go trying it around the outside, makes things a lot more spectacular. And now we go through the mountain once again. Going through here once at full speed can be quite stressful. Imagine you're trying to do it 20 times with other cars around you. A great view here, get an idea which way the other side though. We can see just how close they get to the wall coming through here. But now coming up to McPhillamy, look to the inside, you see just not quite there, a little bit off the apex, and now we come down the S's and towards the dipper once again. It feels like a roller coaster down here when you're driving at home. It can be quite intimidating, especially if you're not too great on the brakes. The car wants to snap around on you. So of course all these guys are pros, they're making it look easy, but I can assure you it's far from it.
So down through into that corner we go. Now this is lap 4. This is the first chance we're going to see for pit stops here as well. The advantage that BMW have been able to pull out in these opening stages, it's been perfect for them so far. 6.3 seconds on that soft compound tyres. But which way are they going to go? Are they going to get the hard compound tyres on in the mid stages, or are they going to try and do that at the end and go onto the mediums in the middle stages? In towards the final turn we go. Of course, it is a minimum of 4 laps that they have to be on these tyres. It doesn't mean they have to pit at the end of the 4 laps. They've got a bit more of a buffer. Unlike in Spa, it had to be 4 laps because the race was only 12 laps long, but Toyota crucially do blink. They understandably want to get off the hard tyres as soon as they possibly can, but which way are they going to go? Onto the medium tyres for Toyota. Aston Martin, are they going to follow suit? I think pretty much everybody is, yep, to try and be on the soft tyres in the closing stages of the race.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get off those hard tyres as quick as you can. You might think, why not go longer? The durability will be a good thing around it. But these guys, they prefer out and out speed and then just drive around the tyre wear. So Sly Bishop in the car now on the medium compound of tyres. Likes Bathurst, he does. He had a chat with him earlier on. Very friendly guy, Sly. And we have his mum and dad here as well watching, so great to have them here as we now watch him come up towards quarry corner again. Now back to our lead. You can see it on your screen, tyre strategy in the bottom left-hand corner. That's what we expect to see. of course, about 3 different realistic strategies here, and really, you can see there trying to maximise the 8 laps on the soft compounder tyre. People might try and go further if they go on tyres. I mean, Nico will be a good indicator of that. He's currently on his 5th lap on the soft compounder tyres. Will he be able to go beyond 8? We'll have to wait and see, but if anyone can, it is Mr. Hot Lap himself. You see now coming out of Forest Elbow. It's very hard to show you just how close they're getting to those walls, and actually in some instances there's a little bit of some sparks flying up. But just a reminder, if you weren't aware, there is a damage setting here as well. So if you'd be a little bit too silly, a little bit too cheeky across the mountain, it is going to bite you and slow you down coming down the rest of the circuit. So these guys doing their best, of course, to avoid that.
Certainly so. Riding on board then with BMW, hard on the brakes in towards that chicane we go. You can see Nicolas Roubillard just being nice and smooth here. The advantage, of course, is he doesn't have anybody harrying him from behind. He doesn't have the slipstream, of course, which will be a little bit interesting in terms of their fuel. So they'll be using a little bit more fuel than, say, for example, Lexus will, who are stuck right behind Audi at the moment. But they are in a very good position, and lap after lap, they're just extending that advantage over Team Porsche as things stand, and they're going to try and get as maximum amount of time as possible on that soft tyre towards the end of this race, and quite understandably so for the German manufacturer. Let's see how things go for them. Of course, if you hark back to their results in 2019, well, they took 3 wins over the course of that season, and it'll be interesting to see how things go for them here this weekend. So through into the right hand of turn 3 we go. Still riding on board with Roubillard. Team Porsche, they're doing not a bad job in P2. They've been able to pull a bit of a gap over Team Audi. You can see on screen now that live telemetry as well, and the team radio possibly for Nicolas Roubillard here. Coque Lopez, who's on the other end of that, so they're going to be communicating in their native tongue of Spanish. So through down in towards that left-hander.
We are still with Nico Roubillard looking very strong at the moment. You've seen the relatives just at the bottom hand of your screen as well to give you an idea of the gap. Nearly 8 seconds at the moment to Porsche behind. So this is exactly what Nico needed to do. It might seem a little bit calm right now. Of course, this is how things tend to go in the first part of the race. But as the strategies then come to the climax at the end of the race, you tend to see the cars become a bit closer again. Things get a bit more spicy.
Si nos ganan cualquier otro que no sean ni Porsche ni Lexus, aún así ganamos en puntos, ¿vale? Vale. A eso me refería.
Well, I know ballet means okay.
Los únicos que están a menos de 4 puntos son los 2 que han quedado segundo y tercero. El cuarto ya está a 5 puntos, ¿vale? Vale.
I think what you're saying there is that Jimmy Brodman's a very handsome man, so thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I think you're quite... Well, I don't know about that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think we need to get Lucas Ordóñez or Alberto Perez, our Spanish commentators, over here. Meanwhile, here are Lexus having a cheeky look up the inside of Team Audi. Side by side, they come down the Conrod straight through to the chase. Lexus on the inside, Audi now on the inside into the chicane. Side by side they come, they're squeezing Audi for the apex, but that is brilliant from Team Lexus and Kanata Kawakami, who muscles his way through into 3rd position ahead of the German manufacturer, and down into Murray's corner we go. Now their next target is going to be Porsche, but are they going to be able to bridge that gap?
Tell you what, Kawakami's been kind of on the back foot after the start of the race. Good to see him, that his confidence has not been knocked. He's getting back on the horse, so to speak. Here's Toyota. Of course, we'll say it many times, our Manufacturer Series champions from last year. Not really the start they would have wanted. Cy Bishop in the car at the moment in 5th position. Behind him, Hyundai. And the Hyundai looking quite quick, actually, here. But Hyundai are one of those teams that have never really done very well at any of our events, it seems. It'd be good for them to try and do a little bit better.
I'm just looking at their results from last year here, Jimmy, and in terms of what they had that was a notable achievement, 1 5th-place finish at semi-final A in the Nürburgring last year. Other than that, they had 2 more top 10 finishes, but everything else was pretty nuts, nothing to write home about. 11th and 12th place finishes across the board right up until the world final. Now here is a replay. This is Team Toyota versus Hyundai. Down the Conrod straight, you can see them on the inside here for Toyota. Haven't shone in the way we were expecting them to here tonight. That is unfortunate for them, but up into P5 they are nonetheless now ahead of the Korean brand. So it is Team Toyota, Cy Bishop behind the wheel, the Kiwi. We actually met his parents who were here this weekend as well. We finally met Mama Bishop, which was quite nice.
They brought us some chocolate as well.
They did.
Very kind of them. So always treat your commentators nicely, and we'll be nice to Cy. That's how it works. We're not to be poor. Let's get that out there now before we get in trouble. But coming down the hill now, great onboard view. I always love seeing people tackle the S's down here, and you think the car's never going to stop, but somehow it does, and then you negotiate the dipper, and before you know it, you're coming down the Forest Elbow. That all happens within about 3 or 4 seconds, and that's why when you're talking about it, you've got to be very quick, and you've got to get through it quickly, otherwise you miss out. Silently just kissing the wall and exit. That would have slowed it down a little bit. but thankfully I imagine no damage from that. Meanwhile, 8th and 9th, Mercedes-Benz coming back through the field after the 4-second penalty earlier on. There has been a driver change for Mercedes, so now it'll be, I think it's Anthony Felix in the car for them, the American driver, and Cody seems he'll be the one to finish off there. Looking back now from the Corvette, Chevy Corvette, another team which doesn't really tend to get into the top half very often.
No, again, just looking through their results I've got down here, Jimmy, I mean, they haven't had too bad of a result in 2019. They got a 3rd place finish in the World Final, but here come Mercedes-Benz straight around the outside, but late on the brakes and off the circuit there for Anthony Felix, and it has gone from bad to worse. He loops it round. He just about avoids the Aston Martin and the Jaguar coming through the picture, and, well, that is just such a difficult thing for Mercedes-Benz. It's been just nothing to write home about. The problem is it's been that chain of events, hasn't it? It didn't go right for them in qualifying. They started on the back foot, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. The whole accordion effect as things go down. But meanwhile, here at Aston Martin versus Hyundai, down the mountain straight on the inside for Aston Martin and through into P6 now.
Yeah, I mean, that the old V12 Vantage is a little bit dated by modern standards, but an easy pass there. Here's a replay of the Mercedes here. So Felix goes to the outside, just outbrakes himself, turns in a little bit of contact with the Corvette, can't get it slowed down. And the Mercedes, very quick car, very good at a lot of things. Rally crossing is not one of them, and just about getting out of the way of the other guys coming through there.
You could see how late he was on the brakes. He was never going to get that stopped in a month of Sundays coming into that corner, was he? Meanwhile, here is Team BMW. You can see Cody Nikolakowski for Mercedes-Benz in the bottom left-hand corner of your picture, looking on quite disconsolately. It must be said, as we have alluded to a few times, it has not been anything to write home about for them. Meanwhile, BMW, when are they going to pit? Are they going to do it at the end of this lap? Surely they are, because they will have to at some point get off that soft compound of tyre and get on to the medium or hard compound. Which way would you be going at this point, Jimmy?
I think if I was them, there's a big gap, there's a lot of pace in that car. Maybe just go for the medium and try and keep that gap going. So there you go. So Nico Rubler opting to do one more lap on the soft compound of tyre. I think trying to make them last as long as possible. The pace is still there, so why not do it? The gap now up to 9 seconds, and Porsche behind them opting to come into the pit lane, as does Lexus, as does Audi. Now, which way are they going to go? So Porsche are going to go for the hard compound of tyre. What will Lexus and Audi do? There's an almost eternity to wait there, and they're both going onto the hard compound tyre too, opting for the fast finish. Now that would have been a choice for one of them to try and get out of the little train they're in and try and make a bit of progress. So Tristan Baylor's there getting in the car for Porsche, so one last stretch before he gets going. And Toyota, where will they come out? They're not going to come out in second place. The guys are coming out of the pit lane now, coming through Hell Corner. Look ahead, who's there? All three of them are there. So there's Audi, there is Lexus, and there is Porsche. In the background, Aston Martin there as well. And it looks like they aren't going to be able to get by there. And there are the Team Porsche teammates, Angel Stroser there and Matt Simmons. Of course, you probably recognise Angel from one of the clips we've shown earlier on. Of, I think that was the most I've ever heard a Mike clip in my life. He was pretty happy with that. But looking back, Lexus, Audi, and the Porsche in there. Sorry, I can read. Yes, I can. The Toyota, sorry. No, I can't read as it turns out. But all on the hard compound of tyre, bar the Toyota. So they have the advantage. But the thing is, you can't really do anything over the mountain, can you? Unless you're feeling very brave.
Yeah, very brave and a little bit silly, I think is probably the best way of putting it. Here is Audi. They're in a bit of a sandwich at the moment. They're trying to attack against Lexus in front, but I've got to keep an eye full of their mirrors, because the Toyota now being piloted by it should be Cy Bishop, but it's actually going to be, I think, Rayan DeRouche, because we saw Cy in the early stages of this race behind the wheel of the car. Maybe it is Cy Bishop who's now behind the wheel. Yeah, it is Cy. Apologies. It is now Cy Bishop who is behind the wheel of that car. So he is now in 5th position and bearing down on the Audi, rather, I should say. Down through into Forest Elbow and on towards the Conrad Straight. Is there going to be any difference in straight line speed between them? The advantage for Audi is, of course, they do have a bit of a slipstream in front for Lexus, and it does leave Lexus to be a bit of a sitting duck down this straight.
Yeah, the gaps, it might be close enough. So here we are, they're on board with the Audi. Look at the straight line speed, and they're most importantly there as Audi get by up into 3rd place past Lexus. We also have a driver swap for BMW. Our leaders come into the pit lane on lap 9, so 9 laps on the soft compound tyre. Great drive from Nico, exactly what they needed at the front of the field. And now Randall Hayward, the American driver, will get in the car and he will take over, and they go on to the medium compounder tyre. So now here is Audi, here is Lexus, here is Toyota coming through Murray's corner. Side looking very aggressive there in the Toyota. Now looks to the inside here at Hell Corner, and there he goes past Lexus. Nice move there, and now he'll look to try and get into the draft of the Audi in front and get up into 3rd place. A reminder, of course, that there is a pretty much a mandatory true fuel stop in this race at some point. A full tank will do you 16 laps, leaving 4 to add. If you can eke out another lap, that's a little bit less time in the pits and, of course, a little bit less time stationary. So there is that element of fuel strategy here, and being behind some of the other cars is going to help out.
I don't think anybody has taken fuel on board in their car at the moment. We saw Randall Hayward getting into the car, putting the medium compound of tyres on, but he hasn't got any fuel. Oh, he's got 47 litres of fuel left in that car, so he clearly didn't take any fuel on, because that gap is still sitting at 9.4 seconds. All the while they're squabbling amongst one another, it could be a bit of a welcome advantage. But look at Team Toyota now getting really on the back of the Audi. Behind the wheel of the Audi is Hayden Hunter. So through in towards the left-hander we go. Here is Team Porsche all on their own as they sit pretty in P2. But now Audi are going to be on the defensive. Is Cy Bishop going to be able to attack against Hayden Hunter? Here are the points standing as things sit. And if BMW finish in the top spot, they have never won a World Tour event overall, by the way, I should add, in 2019 at least. But they are looking very much in contention to try and do so here.
You see Yamanaka there, the Toyota driver, just doing his warm-ups, getting ready to get into the car. So we might see him come into the pits now. But can Cy Bishop do one more good thing before coming into the stop, into the slipstream of the Audi, who have to go to the outside of the chase here? Let's see what sort of grip that Toyota has at high speed. He's through before the corner even happens, just slots in behind the Audi, in front of the Audi there. On the brakes, Cy Bishop up into 3rd position there in the Toyota. And Audi there relegated down to 4th position. Hayden Hunter there. Now will Toyota peel into the pit lane? No, they stay out for now. So it's Cy Bishop in the Toyota, Hayden Hunter in the Audi, and in the Lexus it is Andrew Brooks as well.
So down in towards Hell Corner we go. Over that start-finish straight, you can see the point standings live on your screen at the moment. Just a reminder, double points as Team Toyota, Randa Roosh and Tomoki Yamanaka talking amongst one another and remonstrating.
Yeah, 3rd, 4th and 5th at the moment, as it was stands, covered by only a point. That's how close it is to that last step of the podium. Meanwhile, if BMW can keep this up, this is in the bag for them. But we still have 9 laps here to go. It's Mount Panorama. It's a far from easy circuit to take on. Anything can happen, and whatever does happen, we're going to call you through the action. There is Takeda there, giving us a little bit of weight. How you doing, mate? Hope you're doing all right. Of course, teammates to Jay Wong and Fabian Portier, who again literally arrived this morning, about as jet lagged as we were yesterday as well, but has been doing a fantastic job out there to take part anyway. For me, just to show up and do that, he would be my driver of the day, I think. Again, FIA GT, so Michelin FIA GTC. No, what's the hashtag?
Hashtag Michelin FIA GTC.
That's why you're here, Tom. Hashtag.
Oh, yeah, nothing else. Cheers, Jimmy, mate. That's
Let us know your driver of the day. There you go. that was about as butchered as I can make that.
Meanwhile, Mercedes-Benz, they have not got another penalty for some reason. I'm assuming that's exceeding track limits because we didn't see what happened on screen. But the flashing red dot on the tower graphic, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, does indicate that they have a penalty. And this has been a very tricky day at the office for the 2-time winners of the Manufacturer Series in 2019. They qualified very well. It has not gone their way in racing conditions here either. Meanwhile, Aston Martin, they won a World Tour last year. If you hark back to Paris in March, they were the victors. And it was hugely impressive to see them putting in such a strong performance. Sitting in P6 at the moment, but not far away from Lexus or indeed Audi. They're on the medium tyre, so the faster of the compounds between those 3 drivers at the moment. And let's keep an eye on it and see how things will stand. Now, Team Toyota coming into the pit lane. So Tomoki Yamanaka is going to take over behind the wheel of that car from the medium compound of tyres, making his final stop in this race onto the soft tyres for 8 laps, which are remaining. They want to get as much mileage as possible out of those soft tyres as they can. They've got to take fuel on board in this stop here, crucially as well.
Yamanaka now, the samurai, as we call him. If you think you've seen an aggressive driver, wait till you see this guy. He is so fast, so confident in his ability. It's always a joy to watch him, especially when he's chasing, which he is now on that soft compound tyre.
Well, it reminds me of Paris, I should say, of Tokyo last year, World Tour 5. He put in a meteoric performance for Team Toyota, and just so aggressive he is. You say out there on track, some dicey moves. He loves to make them up the inside, and well, this place rewards aggression. It rewards drivers who throw the car into the corners, and Tomoki Yamanaka is a shining example of that, and hopefully we'll get some onboard shots when he's back out on track and has got those tyres up to temperature and up to speed, because I'm sure we're going to see some brilliant driving from him. Team Toyota ready to try and attack and pounce in these closing stages of the race, or the latter stages of this race, I should say. Down in P8 at the moment, but of course in front of them, Jaguar, Hyundai and everybody else have not made their final pit stop, so they're a little bit out of sync with things at the moment.
Meanwhile, we're on board with our leader, BMW. You see the drivers there, the team on the left, and also their online IDs. So maybe if you've seen a couple of names online, you'll realise why it is that you're getting trounced every time you race against them. So here is Lexus as well. They're currently in the fight of Aston Martin. Of course, that's Aston Martin behind the glorious V12, as I always love to say. Very quick in a straight line around here, and showing that by drafting up to the back of the Lexus. Might be able to have a go coming just after the chase. So let's see what happens. Looks to the inside, late on the anchors. They're going to be up the inside, but they are side by side coming into left-hander and just about squeeze it out there. The British brand up the inside of Lexus into P4, making the most of that medium compounder tyre. But saying that, into the pits they come, so arguably that might have cost them a little bit of time doing that. So now, most importantly, Porsche are in, they're on the soft compound, Lexus on the soft compound, Audi on the soft compound, Aston Martin in the soft compounder tyre. So we're going to have 4 incredibly fast runners, and when BMW do come into the pit lane for that hard compounder tyre at the end, they're going to be, in comparison, just sitting there.
And on a full tank of fuel as well, let's not forget, or at least a fuller tank of fuel compared to pretty much everybody else around them. So they are not going to be in a particularly good position. The advantage, of course, is that they do have a good buffer over the rest of the field at the moment, but we know how quickly that gap can come down, especially when you're on the soft compound of tyres. And look at how many teams and drivers are. Hyundai out of position at the moment. They're in P3. You might think they're doing particularly well, but they have got to make their final pit stop, which won't be too far away, I am sure. They're on the soft compound of tyres as things stand, not too far behind Porsche. The thing is, if they get involved at the wrong time here with Porsche, they could end up upsetting the German manufacturer's race as well, as we ride on board with Tomoki Yamanaka, who is now trying to harry the Audi.
He sounds like that one guy in every lobby with the mic right close to his mouth right now, doesn't he? But obviously quite quiet out there, concentrating, and just look, he's just reeling in the Audi in front at the moment. This is great to watch. I would not want to be Martin Grady, because while Martin, of course, is a fantastic driver in his own right, look at this, the aggression over the mountain there. The Audi squirms there, coming through McPhillamy and into Skyline. Now we go down the hill again, and look at just how the Toyota can just pull that gap down, almost touching the rear bumper there of the Audi as Grady gets sideways there, coming down the dip, and now to Forest Elbow. Will Toyota to go for a lunge? They don't. Audi go defensive. Now let's look at straight line speeds. Let's see what this Toyota can do in a straight line. They will have a draft coming down the straight, and still I'm hearing Yamanaka breathing away those. But here we are in the draft. What's that top speed in the bottom right-hand corner? 250 Ks, 260 Ks, nearly 270 Ks now coming down to the chase. Toyota goes to the inside, side by side. Should be easy, said and done. There you go, up the inside for the chase. Audi, Martin Grady looking to try and come back into the left-hander, can't quite manage it, and Yamanaka up into 4th for Toyota.
Hugely impressive stuff from Tomoki Yamanaka through into P4. Now the next target is just in front of them, Team Hyundai and Team Porsche as well. Bit of a stalemate because they're all on the soft compound of tyres, but Yamanaka squeezing every tenth, every thousandth of performance out of this Toyota. And down in towards Hell Corner we go for the 14th time of asking. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out for this in the closing stages. Of course, as we said, Team BMW have still got to make their final pit stop. They've got a good advantage over the rest of the field. I don't know if they're going to be able to there's going to be a sale, rather, I should say, from Team Porsche, because it's 30 seconds the advantage it sits at between BMW and Team Porsche. But we know how mistakes can be made and how this circuit is very, very easy to throw it all away.
There's a pit stop there as well to be owned, of course, so that will account for a lot of the 30-second gap. So when the BMW do come into the pits, we'll probably see this open right up. So on board now, here's Martin Grady. Now, he said to me before we started this race, if we get on the podium, I'll be doing the shoey. So no pressure, Martin, but you've got all cut out for you right now, mate. You're at 5th place. You have Toyota, Hyundai, Porsche and BMW in front. Still managing to hang on in there, though. Of course, Toyota are going to have to make their way past Hyundai, who are also yet to stop. They're on a soft compounder tyre, so they owe a stop as well. So realistically, this is going to be the battle for 2nd place between these guys, or 3rd place, I should say. But every moment that Toyota and Audi are being held up by Hyundai is a bit of a godsend for Porsche and for BMW ahead.
So out on towards the Conrail straight we go. Martin Grady behind the wheel of the car then. really trying to find his way through, and you can see there Team Hyundai out of sync, as we said, in third position, but not doing too bad of a job. They're a bit of a sitting duck because those soft tyres are very clapped out now. They're very old, and Tomoki Yamanaka is ready to pounce against the Genesis. He's going to try and launch his way through up the inside. Full commitment from Yamanaka, squeezed by Hyundai on the corner apex. Side by side they come on the exit of the corner, and down into worries we go. Surely Yamanaka and Toyota are going to find their way through, and look behind as well, because Audi are coming into play here as well. Toyota on the inside, Hyundai on the outside, Hyundai on the grass here as well, and through go Toyota and through go Audi, and Lexus finding their way past as well. Well, that is an absolutely brilliant bit of action up and down the field, and that is how to lose 3 positions in the space of 2 corners for Team Hyundai.
We said he was aggressive, Tom, and there you go. There wasn't a gap there, and he made one. Now the slipstream for Martin Grady. Look at the power difference here between the Toyota and the Audi. Audi being forced a long way around. Can Yamanaka keep him there? He can, just about keeps him off. Look in the background, Aston Martin there. They come up from the back of the grid on that soft compounder tyre, looking very, very fast right now. Lexus looking to the outside of the Audi, coming into the cutting now. It all slows down. Line astern now up the hill. Again, Hyundai a little bit out of position there, just keeping Aston Martin out of the fight. But this is exactly what Yamanaka wants. He wants to be able to just get free, get on the tarmac and get in chase of Porsche. And now it's up to Martin Grady for Audi to keep the Lexus at bay as well. A great shot there back from the Toyota of Yamanaka. It just shows you just how close they get to these walls around here. What a great camera angle that was.
This is absolutely brilliant. Of course, next lap is when we will see BMW coming to the pit lane. They've got to do a minimum of 4 laps on that tyre. Meanwhile, look as well at Audi. Look in the background as well. You can see between Lexus and Aston Martin. And here come Lexus on the inside versus Audi. Side by side we come in towards the Forest elbow. Contact between the two. Lexus biff their way through into P4.
Yeah, that's going to be a slap on the wrist. You can't just send it into the side of someone and expect to get the position there. But Martin's the sort to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to overtakes. We're going to get a replay of Toyota and Hyundai here. This happened the lap previous, and just about forced himself into a gap there, did Yamanaka, and he managed to stay alongside the entire time. Of course, these guys fighting side by side just meant Audi got into the mix, Lexus got into the mix as well, and all credit there to Hyundai. Did a very, very good job of keeping the cars at bay, tried to hold it around the outside, just got onto the grass, that slowed him down, which then set the train by, so to speak, and of course Yamanaka going up to third there as well.
Tashiro Hoshino, who's behind the wheel of that Hyundai, just trying to do as good a job as he can, which is very difficult when you're on very old rubber. Meanwhile, here is Audi, here is Martin Grady, who is still putting the pressure on to Lexus, trying to right the wrongs. And if we see Lexus and Audi out on track, you know it's going to be pretty exciting, but I'm fairly certain we're going to see a steward's investigation between that incident between them out on track. Will Lexus be slapped on the wrist? Will they get a penalty? Will there be any further action taken in the closing stages of this one?
So BMW right now are coming just down to Forest Elbow. We check the mini-map there in the top right-hand corner of your screen. They'll be pinning in this lap and bolting on the hard compound of tyres. Then we'll see what the gap is. Bear in mind, of course, every car behind them is on the soft compounder tyres, so they're going to be the slowest car on circuit with people charging. A penalty there given to Toyota for colliding with another car. So obviously the stewards did not share our view of the move coming into the chase, outside the chase there. So Toyota getting a 1-second penalty. They're going to have to serve that coming down Conrad Straight, which is probably going to let Lexus buy it. It might even let Audi buy it as well. And all that work Yamanaka did is now going to be undone just like that.
He is going to be very upset behind the wheel of that car. Here is the penalty zone. He's going to serve that penalty, moves over to the right-hand side of the track. Lexus say thank you very much and move up into P3. And look at the advantage that they are able to get with having full racing speed down the Conrad Straight, moving over back to the racing line, over to the right-hand side of your picture. Meanwhile, in the background, you can see Aston Martin coming under pressure from Team Toyota as BMW come into the pit lane then and put the hard tyres on. They've got to put fuel on board here as well. It's going to seem like an absolute eternity. Into the car comes Koke Lopez for the final stint of the Japanese manufacturer, but this is crucial. Where are Porsche going to emerge? They're on the soft tyre. How much of a buffer is Koke Lopez going to have with the remaining 3 laps here in this race? Out of the pit lane we come. BMW do retain the lead, but they've only got 7.9 seconds. It might sound like a lot, but given how fast the soft compounder tyre is, 2 seconds a lap quicker than the hard compounder tyre that BMW is on, it's anybody's guess. It's anybody's game to play for, and it is going to be mightily close in the final.
I can tell you right now that Matt Simmons is going to be wringing the neck of that Porsche 911, trying to catch up with Coque Lopez in the M6 there, coming over the mountain. But if anyone can hold this lead, it will be Coque Lopez, a man of such supreme speed, never really been on the top step of a podium. I really hope to see him here and enjoy this, of course. Here is Porsche, and another investigation underway as well between Aston Martin and Hyundai. Look at the gap there on the top left-hand corner of your screen, already down to 6.8 seconds from 8.
So if it does emerge, as we're thinking it will, with a scrap between BMW versus Porsche, whoever wins this race will be crowned the Manufacturers Series winners here in Sydney. Don't forget, of course, Lexus not too far away, and Audi as well. But of course, it's double points on offer here, and the gap is so close between them that it could be set to change very nicely indeed.
We'll have to wait and see, of course. That's the great thing about his events. It's never over till it's truly over, and they're all across the checkered flag line. On board now with the Aston Martin. Let's have a look at the speeds here. We're in the slipstream of the Audi in front, coming up towards Conwood Straight, over this little crest. Might be able to get alongside coming up to the chase. No further action between Aston Martin and Hyundai there. There goes Aston Martin past the Audi there. A great charge there, but the Audi Martin great to have the inside, chops across the nose there, gets the move done. Fantastic driving there from, that's Fabien Portier out there. That's our man with the jet lag. Look at him up there. He's pretty much dead in the seat, bless him, but doing an absolutely great job in the Aston Martin to bring it up into 4th place. Can he continue the charge? Now, there may still be a penalty for Lexus. We've not seen a decision given on that yet. So we'll see what happens there. And that might mean that Aston Martin move up into 3rd and Audi back into 4th. So that still remains to be seen. Here are the points as it stands right now. Aston Martin would sneak into the top 5 with this result, but BMW, Porsche and Lexus will still remain on the podium as is. Gap at the front of the field now, down to 6 seconds with 2 laps remaining.
So then, riding on board we are with Aston Martin, coming over in towards the middle section of the lap. It's hugely impressive as you come up in towards the cutting. It just doesn't do it justice riding on board, but you can see the commitment from all of the drivers up and down the field. You can see on the left-hand side of your screen, Aston Martin versus Audi, as we ride on board with them coming over the brow of the hill. And this is going to be a very welcome result for Aston Martin, who had a difficult 2019. I think it's fair to say they only took 2 wins over the course of that year, finishing 3rd. I should say 2 wins, of course, and winning the first World Tour event in Paris. I'll put my teeth back in eventually and get it all out. But they won the first World Tour in Paris, but things kind of went a bit southwards thereafter, and it is good to see them back fighting at the sharp end of the grid.
It is now, but do you work together now if you're in this little pack chasing down BMW to try and reel in Coque Lopez, or is it now every man for himself? So, little team radio maybe? No, just seems the concentration face on right now. In the draft of the Aston Martin, there should be a fairly easy pass here for Martin Grady if he can get alongside Fabien Portier. He's got the overspeed there. Through he goes, back up into 4th position now. And you see Fabien Portier not fighting that too much. These guys are now working together, it seems. They know they have a chance of catching Lexus. We've still not seen a steward's decision regarding this incident with the Lexus earlier on. I'm not even sure it's being investigated. Was it being investigated? Maybe they've just missed it altogether. But it seems that Lexus now trying to chase down Porsche. The gap is coming down very slowly, but I don't think they're going to catch it.
So then, meanwhile, going through Hell Corner, I've just had confirmation in my ear from our producers that there is no further investigation following that incident with Lexus there, Jimmy. So, yeah, it is interesting, you're quite right. But now you can see that gap is coming down here for BMW, but it's only at 5 seconds. We're on the penultimate lap of racing, and it is coming down quite significantly. So I'm just taking a look at the difference in lap times between the 2 manufacturers. BMW on the hard tyres, 2:02.636. Porsche on the soft tyres, 2:01. They're a second a lap faster, but a second a lap's well and good, but there's still 4.9 seconds to try and close that gap down.
Yeah, it's not going to be enough at this point, so it looks like if Coque Lopez can just keep it clean and keep it cool, he'll be walking away here with another trophy to add to his collection. Here is Lexus, so they're trying to chase down Porsche. The gap is coming down, not by much though, but here is your big fight right now. It's Audi, Aston Martin and Toyota back into the fray. Yamanaka recovering, of course, from his penalty earlier on. I'm sure he's a little bit of the red mist inside our GT cockpit at the moment as we come down the hill. Great view back up there through the dipper. Sliding is Martin Grady through the exit there. I think he had a bit too much sauce on the low pedal there and got it a little bit sideways. Now coming down to Forest Elbow. A great view back now, but this is something you're going to see. Now watch this Aston Martin get closer as we come down the Conrod straight. Toyota not as quick in a straight line, I think, as these two, so having a bit of trouble staying with them down the straights.
On board we ride then with Toyota. Over the brow of the hill we go. You can see the Aston Martin there trying to attack against the Audi. Retaliating once again is Fabian Portilla. Side by side they go through the chase, and Portilla goes through the Chilean driver, now back into P4 ahead of Martin Grady behind the wheel of the Audi. So these guys still squabbling amongst one another, but not doing enough to close down that gap to Lexus in front here, crucially as well.
Right at the moment, and it seems right now just playing chess. Of course, if this move happens again on the last lap, it will be Grady who benefits from the tow coming down the hill. Here are the live point rankings here on the right.
And one thing to mention is that Audi and Aston Martin, depending on who finishes ahead of the other, that will determine where they finish in the live point point standings overall, I should say, here tonight, because there's only 1 point separate, or there's 3 points separating them at the moment. But it will be very interesting to see how it all plays out.
I think so too. Here is BMW though. They are 4.6 seconds ahead of Porsche behind. I mean, we would have liked to have seen it be a bit closer at the end, but it just goes to show what a dominant race it's been from the guys in BMW. Of course, Nico Rublar, that fantastic first in 9 laps he did on the soft compounder tyre. Randall Hayward there with the med stint, and of course Coco Lopez, the anchor, taking it home for them, but it's still not over here. Lexus are catching Porsche, just not by enough, almost into the wall there. Baptiste Beauvoir, I can see him here just on the right-hand side of our commentary box, just bolt upright in his seat and concentrating. That's the face of a man who's just purely thinking about the task at hand, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the French as we come down the S's in the dipper for the last time. There is Porsche, and they aren't going to be able to catch BMW either, so unless there's a mistake from here, it's looking like our top 3 are fairly set.
Heck of a facial expression on Baptiste Beauvoir. They look like he was chewing a wasp or something. He's really concentrating quite a lot, isn't he? There is Team Porsche, though. A great performance it has been for them to hold on to P2, but what an absolutely mega performance from BMW. Coque Lopez behind the wheel of that car. Nicolas Rubillard, Randall Hayward, his teammates, they did exactly the same strategy in race 2 as they did in race 1, and it has paid massive dividends for them. The last time that they were on the top step of the podium was in the repechage race at the Nürburgring last year. They took quite a few podiums in 2019, but they never stood on the top step overall in a World Tour event, but they do so now. BMW wins the Manufacturers Series Grand Final here in Sydney for World Tour 1 of 2020. Coque Lopez takes the checkered flag for the team. Team Porsche come home in P2, and Lexus claim 3rd position. Aston Martin in 4th. Audi in 5th, Team Toyota down in 6th place, Chevrolet 7th, Ford are 8th, Jaguar will come home in 9th position, Alfa in 10th, then Hyundai and Mercedes-Benz all the way down in 12th position. But you can see what it means to Coque Lopez, to Randall Hayward and to Nicolas Rubillard, and great to see Martin Grady on the left-hand side of your picture from Audi going over and congratulating the drivers. And there you go. Fabian Portilla also in and amongst the mix there as well. Just brilliant.
Tell you what, Nico Rubillard has been with this team pretty much since the beginning, and to finally get onto the top step at one of these events, I think is going to mean a lot to him, especially given that a lot of these guys have come from 15, 16-hour flights to be here. That's all made it well worth it.
Just absolutely fantastic. A brilliant atmosphere here in Sydney for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships, and stick around for the extra lap as well. We'll be featuring our winners from the Gran Turismo Manufacturers Series World Tour event here in Paris, debriefing and analysing and chatting with our competitors and finding out exactly what they think after that event, because, well, I'm sure there are going to be some very interesting talking points down there on the floor.
I think so. I think it's a very... I want to quiz them. I want to ask them, I want to ask them how they got to that point, but... you know, I'm happy that we have a BMW win. It's been a long time for them. They've been around for, again, since the beginning in these events, and to finally get onto that top step of the podium, big deal for them.
Well, as I said, the last time they were on the top step of the podium in a World Tour event was the repechage race at the Nürburgring, which was back in May last year. Since then, they took another 4 podiums in 2019, but the top step has eluded them until now, until here tonight, and they took 2 on the bounce early doors. Just brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely awesome. And again, of course, mentioned to Porsche as well, just showing how strong they've been. Lexus back. Good to see them back into form again.
Hugely impressive. Let's take a look, shall we, at some replays from the event and just guide you through that grand final. Down towards the first corner, it was BMW ahead of Porsche. They got themselves sneakily up the inside of Lexus. Further back, though, is where it all kicked off. You'll just see a Jag coming off into the gravel trap there. Yeah, and Vincius Neto being very vocal, I think, in Portuguese there.
And they cut that just before he swore, I think.
Understandably so as well. Here is Audi versus Lexus in the mid-stages of the race. Those two squabbling for the final spot on the podium. Lexus muscling their way through around the outside. Brilliant stuff from Kanata Kawakami. And here is Mercedes-Benz making a complete Horlicks of the braking zone. And Felix looping it round for good measure as well. Oh dear, so you can see the disappointment there on his face, and for Cody Nikola Lukovsky down there on the floor. It has been a challenging time for that team here tonight. Contrast that to the emotion from BMW. Meanwhile, here is Team Toyota versus Team Audi.
There's Yamanaka again looking pretty bogus. In my view, this was a great move. I thought this was fine. The stewards didn't think so. It was sat with a 1-second penalty for being a little bit rough through here, of course. But it was great seeing these guys pretty much go toe-to-toe all the way through into the second-to-last corner here, into Murray's, and Hyundai just about losing out, being pushed onto the grass. So I think that might have been the penalty. But, of course, it was BMW that took the win there. A fantastic result. And that's what it means for those guys there. Great to see that kind of release of emotion after that.
I tell you who's going to be very happy, not only Coque Lopez, but also our Spanish commentators as well, Alberto Perez and Lucas Ordonez. I'd love to see their emotion, but you can see confirmation, Team BMW take the spoils in the grand final ahead of Porsche and Lexus. Great to see Aston Martin fighting inside the top 5, as well as Team Audi. There are the final results, so it's BMW, Porsche and Team Lexus in your top 3, as you can see on your screen.
Yeah, and Audi, of course, just missing out on the podium there, with Aston Martin there in 5th position. But you know, I think Audi are going to be a little bit kind of ruining what could have been there. They had a very strong car in both of the races, just couldn't quite put it together at the end there. But maybe next time, eh?
Maybe next time indeed. Sometimes it doesn't always work out the way you've planned, and despite having the pace, I think that just goes to show how strong the driver lineups are here and how much they have to think ahead and how much they've all perfected these strategies as well. You can see there the World Tour points which are awarded at each event. So for first place, the manufacturer that wins gets 3 points. In second place, you get 2 points. In third place, you get 1 point. These World Tour points will be taken into the World Finals as well. So it's definitely worth bearing this in mind. Just as that extra element to these World Tour events, it makes it more important to consistently be appearing at these events.
Yeah, definitely, of course. And you two at home can get involved and qualify for this. We have 4 stages taking place throughout the year. Get involved in your copy of GT Sport at home, and you could be at one of these events listening to Tom and me shout at you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sadly, some things don't always work out. You can see there the manufacturer series just giving you guidance as to how that all works out. So if you fancy being part of a team sport and being part of the manufacturer series, that's a great way to get involved. And you can see down here, you can hear down here, I'm sure, our crowd on the floor in Sydney. But let's head over to Julia before we get the podium celebrations underway, shall we?
Yes, I'm here with the winners of the Manufacturer Series, Team BMW. How are you feeling, guys? All right?
I feel great.
I bet you feel great. So I have a question for you. Like, so much about the Manufacturer Series is about kind of strategy. How much do you kind of like set out before, and do you change much kind of on the fly, or do you kind of stick with it? You're like, this is what we're going to do.
Well, the first race, we had to stick with that because we were forced to run the compounds. Yeah. And we had to figure out the strategy on the fly to determine what we're going to run for the second race.
Okay, so you had to kind of change things. I say, Coque, I mean, obviously, this time around, we're missing a couple of our kind of, well-known kind of fastest kind of like races. Did you feel the difference on the track, them not being there? Did it change how you drive, do you think? We didn't have Mick, we didn't have Igor.
I don't think I feel the difference. I mean, it's just to try to be focused always, like at home, you know. And then if we have the Mr. Whole Lap, it's easier.
Mr. Hot Lap.
And also the first race, he did an amazing job because he was just behind the guys on softs with the mediums, and that was the key for the whole championship. So I'm just so happy and got to be grateful with those two guys because they did an amazing job.
Well, I think one thing we should talk about, Nick, is the fact that we were having lunch outside, and you'd just done the qualifiers, and you were telling me that you were actually really nervous. Like, you felt very, very nervous, you know, going from home and then coming to here. And I think that's important for everyone to know. It's not that these guys don't get nervous, it's just that they kind of work through it. But so I gave you a little technique.
A little advice.
A little bit of advice. I was talking about doing some different kind of breathing techniques just to kind of calm your nerves. So I feel like this is my win because you did them, right?
Yeah, I did it.
This is my win. Yeah, did it work? So it worked?
Yeah, it did work a lot. I mean, I was like shaking a lot. I was breathing so fast, and just doing that just calmed me down. And yeah, I could just perform on my 100%.
See? My win. It's all down to me. I get the trophy. I'm just kidding. Well, guys, a huge congratulations to our team BMW, and we are going to throw it over now to Tom and Jimmy.
Yeah, cheers, Julia. I mean, don't take all the credit. Why not? Hey.
Yeah, I mean, really desperate for a trophy there. it's not a good look on you.
No, she doesn't want the trophy. She wants the Tag Heuer watch. That's what Julia wants. That's what you know she wants.
Good old predictable Julia.
I'll tell you the thing I'm looking forward to, though, is what colour Coque Lopez is going to go for his hair now after that. Surely he's got to dye it a different colour after taking that win.
I reckon BMW.
BMW Motorsport colours.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's not a bad idea, actually, to be fair.
If we don't see that Coque, then don't bother coming back, all right?
I mean, that was mega impressive. Just a note for Nicolas Roublar as well. He won the World Tour in Paris last year, back in March, as the Nations Cup driver. This is his first World Tour win overall as a manufacturer's driver, so that's very impressive.
Just a really strong start, really. I kind of hope that it doesn't... What happened last year doesn't happen. Get a really strong start at Paris and kind of just did this over the course of the season. But you know what? I think he's come back. You know, he's got his breathing techniques now. Julia approved breathing techniques, so I think it'll be pretty quick.
Let's take a look, shall we, at some highlights from BMW over the course of tonight here in World Tour 1 in Paris. And just guide you through exactly what made them so dominant. Here we were in the first race in Group 4 cars at Spa-Francorchamps, and they took the victory in commanding style. The soft compound of tyres right at the end of that one proving to be a very popular choice. And that was the celebrations down there between Roublar and Coque Lopez. And then in race 2, well, it was more of the same.
Yeah, pretty much just leading from the front. The options got on that soft tyre early was a fantastic call. Got them out into space, let them just drive the race they wanted to race, basically, and just essentially go and hot lap for 20 laps. And you can see there, this excitement building as they got towards the end of the race there. And across the line there. Coque Lopez. It's always great to see the reactions there. It really does mean a lot. It's a lot of effort to get here, a lot of work to get here, and to finally get that payoff, I think, you know, it's great to see what it means to them.
It really is, and that's what we love about it. I was saying this to Australian host Matt, who was here jigging up the crowd earlier on before we went live on air, and I said one of the things I love about these Gran Turismo World Tour events, unlike motorsport, which you would watch at a traditional racetrack, is you get to see the emotion of the drivers as it happens. You get to see them running up on stage and embracing one another, and that is phenomenal, and that's something that is unique about what we offer here.
Definitely, and I always like to say that I think that esports and sim racing is a fantastic route into real-life motorsport. Just look at Igor Fraga, of course, our nation's champion from last year. Literally today, won a race in the Toyota F3 Series, and that's what this can do here. Being involved in this, it is a stepping stone.
It really is. Yeah, mega stuff from all involved here for World Tour 1 of the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships World Tour 1 in Sydney. About ready then to get our podium celebrations underway here down under. So let's guide all of our competitors on to the podium, shall we? In third position, please give it up for the team comprised of Baptiste Beauvoir, Andrew Brooks and Kanata Kawakami. It's Team Lexus! In second position, please welcome the drivers Angel Inostroza, Tristan Bayliss and Matthew Simmons of Team Porsche. And the winners of World Tour 1 here in Sydney for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships, Nicholas Rubelar, Randall Haywood and Koke Lopez of Team BMW. Ladies and gentlemen, your respects please for the national anthem of Germany. A round of applause for Team BMW, the winners of World Tour 1 for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships here in Sydney. And now it is time for our trophies to be presented. Presenting the trophy for the third place finishers of Team Lexus, it is David Lang, the brand manager of Michelin Australia. Presenting the second place trophy to Team Porsche, it is the General Manager of Sony PlayStation Australia and New Zealand, Gonzalo Fialo. And now the watch is for the winning team on behalf of Tag Heuer, the official timing partner of GT Sport. Presented by the producer of the Gran Turismo series, Kazunori Yamauchi. And the first place trophy also presented by Yamauchi-san, for the driver pairing of Randall Haywood, Nicholas Rubelar and Koke Lopez. Well, a huge congratulations to all our competitors here. Massive congratulations to our top three finishers of Team Lexus, Team Porsche and Team BMW. Jimmy Broadbent, how would you summarise tonight in a few words?
I think it's a great start to this 2020 season. Some new names in the mix, some old names in there as well. That's why we love it, right?
Absolutely is. And what a great start to the season for Team BMW. We'll have all of the latest action coming for you in just a couple of moments' time. We'll be talking to our winning teams. We'll be having our Michelin Driver of the Day crowned as well. Join us for the Extra Lap post show in just a couple of moments' time here for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships.
Hi, my name is Nicolas Rubilar, and I'll take you around my pole position lap in the Manufacturer Series General Qualifying at Mount Panorama. And making sure I brake just a little bit past on the 150 meter sign, trying to hit the apex, going really safe on the throttle, focusing on the exit. We go here on the long straight. I was like shaking a lot at this point. This was my second try, but now focusing on the next turn, just right about the 100 meter sign, we try to go really close to the apex, going easy on the throttle, trying to use the max track as possible. Here in this point, you try to brake just on the apex of the first turn, trying to go on this high point really close. Try to use the max track as possible, closest to the wall. Here on this point, I just tap the wall here. And then try to be using the most track as possible to not hit the walls, but at the same time maximum the speed. Here downhill, just try to don't shift not too fast and brake right on the apex of every turn to make it to gain the most time as possible. Trying to go easy on the throttle to not drift. Again, on this point, we have to prepare this turn a lot to be braking under control and trying to get the most speed, focusing on the exit as possible. Here we go on the long straight. I was really nervous at this point, trying to not do a mistake on the last turns. So shifting gears on the right points. And here we just use more track as possible, try to hit the apex and brake on the 150 meter sign. Now hit the curb and hit the inside curb and then go full throttle on the next turn. And we prepare the last turn, braking just about in the 100 meter sign. Try to focus on the exit and going really easy on the throttle. And that's how I close my lap on my pole position lap. So this is how I got my pole position, and make sure to watch the Manufacturer Series.
Hello and welcome to the Extra Lap, the show that we have brought together because there is just way too much drama and action in every single one of our championships to kind of fit in, and it all happens very quickly and we need to have a little bit of a breather afterwards and just figure out what happened. So yeah, welcome to the Extra Lap. I'm joined by Matt de Groot. You are a radio host here in Australia, so I'm told.
Yes, correct. Welcome to Australia. You as sun-affected as Tom and Jimmy seem to be, they're very pasty white men, and you seem to really love the Australian sunshine.
I do. I mean, I don't go outside that much in the sunshine. I don't really agree with it in principle. I don't really understand what the glowing, burning orb in the sky is all about. We don't have that in England.
You haven't done that English thing, though, where as soon as you get to Australia, you go straight to Bondi Beach and sit there all day, and then don't realise that you'll roast, and then the second day, you can always tell when you see an English person for the second day they've been here because they just look like a lobster.
No. SPF 90 daily. That's the key to looking youthful. So we were talking a little bit before. So you've actually done a little bit of racing on perhaps one of the tracks that we were looking at today in the Manufacturer Series. Is that right?
Yeah, let's not confuse racing with
driving a car
having
round.
the opportunity. So
right.
Mount Panorama, which was the second race, is a public road for one. So anytime you go near Bathurst, it is a national responsibility to go to that track and drive around.
National responsibility.
Yeah, the problem is it's got a speed limit of 60. So when you go down Conrod Straight, it is impossible to not break the law. However, I did then have a chance to race around it, and it is phenomenal. What you don't capture, and GT Sport does a very good job of showing it, especially those in-car cameras, is how narrow it is and how steep it is.
Yeah.
And you just can't fathom what it must be like doing 200 kilometres an hour in the wet, 6 hours into racing with 25 cars around you. The skill level is phenomenal.
Sounds very stressful.
And you just see it on display here. I mean, you can hear with the audience, there's gasping, there's cheering, you're riding every second as if you were at Mount Panorama. It's amazing.
I mean, so this is one of your first ever, well, it's the first time we come to Australia. It'd be weird if you'd seen another GT event here. But so what's kind of like your first impressions of it? What do you think?
Well, my first impression is that the part of the audience that sits here, and you don't realise this, but when you chat, they, like, guys, on behalf of Australia, we need to show more chill. And so getting your phone light out and your phone and waving it in the background so you can be seen on TV doesn't make us look very cool, all right? So let's less phone light. I suspect in any second there'll be 15 lights on their phones show up so you can see yourself. But that's okay. Otherwise, it's wild.
Right?
It is unbelievable. As soon as you walk in to the theatre, the stage, the hall, whatever you want to call this, you can just tell that this is something unlike anything I'd ever seen and that we've ever seen here in Australia. And then the racing is amazing. Could not tell you how much I loved it, and tomorrow's going to be huge as well.
It's going to be amazing. Well, look, Matt, thank you so much for chatting to us.
Thank you.
I believe Jimmy is up there, more importantly, with all of our winners to find out what happened.
Yes, Julia, thank you. Good to see you. And thank you, Matt, pale white man. I didn't appreciate that. I'm trying my best. I got a good monitor town, I think. But yes, I am joined by drivers from the top 3 manufacturers, of course, from our podium. We have Andrew Brooks there, 3rd place Lexus, 2nd place Porsche, Matt Simmons, and of course, Coque Lopez, 1st place in BMW. So first of all, Coque, we'll come to you. You've been at pretty much every one of these events, finally on the top step of the podium. How does it feel?
The feeling is just amazing because I'm a bit exhausted, but it looks like when I'm out of Europe, I get a podium. And this is the first time that I'm in the top step of the podium, so I'm just so happy. And just want to thank my both teammates, Nico and Randall, because they did an amazing job. And also thanks to the public, because I hope they enjoyed the racing as we did. And yeah, thank you to everyone who supported me.
Well, you've been with BMW now for a little while. Why?
Can you repeat, please?
So you've been with BMW now for a little while. Why stay with BMW?
It was a difficult decision last year because I was on Toyota in New York event, but I decided to move to BMW because Nico was there and he's a very good friend of mine. And he was also so fast, and I decided to support him and to try to make good results together.
Yeah, of course, just watching a bit of footage now from you guys at Spa. I mean, at that point, were you thinking, yep, okay, we can do this? Or were you just waiting for the second race?
The problem was the second race for us. Sorry. Because our fuel wear was so high, and we just needed to be first and try to have clean air. And Nico and Randall did a great job, nice pace, and I could finally, I managed to finish first. And I even have WhatsApp messages that I told to my family, I think we are not going to make it because they are going to be faster than us at the end. Yeah. But finally, we did it.
Well, congratulations, Coque. Great to have you up here, and I hope to see that success carry on throughout the year. We'll move down the line now to Matt Simmons. Matt, not a bad performance on home soil for you, is it? I mean, do you reckon that helped out at all, having that little advantage?
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to have, firstly, Gran Turismo come to Sydney and in Australia. And so, yeah, we were pretty excited for the Aussies to be able to compete. And then, yeah, the racing was amazing. My teammates were faultless once again. And, yeah, our strategy just worked out really well. At the end, when I actually hopped in at Bathurst, I was probably the most nervous I've ever been. Maybe the pressure got to me a little bit, but had these guys in Lexus holding my heels. So, yeah, it was amazing to get the win. And you could actually hear the audience as throughout the race. So that was a really cool feeling. The atmosphere was unreal.
Quick question of the live audience. Do you think it makes a difference having them here? Because I love having them here because it gives a real sense of theatre, I think. But some people puts them off.
No, we love it. Like you can hear it through the headphones, which is a really cool feeling. You're kind of being urged on from them as well. So we'd love to see it, and thank you for everyone that was able to come out. Yeah, the atmosphere was unreal.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Of course, again, congratulations, second place. Now we'll move down the line to Andrew Brooks. Andrew.
Hello, Jimmy.
Of course, representing Lexus.
Yes.
It's not been the best last year for you, I think it's fair to say. You at the butt of many incidents. How does it feel to finally be back on the podium?
I was worried last year would come up. I mean, looking forward, I think one of the worst things to do this year would be to just keep thinking about last year. So I wanted to come into this year and just think about what's coming up ahead. And I noticed I went in with a much cleaner mindset in general, I wasn't really thinking too much about like what could go wrong. It was more about just going on track and just focusing on the next turn, what's ahead, without dwelling too much on the past. Because I think if you do that, you're almost like more prone to get yourself in an incident. And it worked out really well. We picked a strategy where we didn't like tend to clash with other cars too much. So it turned out well because we were like mostly on our own for most of the stint. So I think that was part of the reason why we were able to get a podium. I have to mention too, Adriano had some trouble to get his visa and stuff. So I feel like there were 4 of us on the podium tonight for sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, long way away from home, of course, for most of us here. Do you think you're going to try and carry that attitude now into the rest of the season? Of course, 2018 was a great year for Lexus, 2019 not so much. You're looking to try and return to the 2018 form?
I hope so. It seems like this really works because I drove probably one of the best stints personally that I've driven in the last few events. And I think if I just keep focusing on the race and not thinking too much about getting involved in incidents, then hopefully it should work out for the future World Tours as well.
Well, congratulations, third place. Congratulations to all you guys here. Fantastic result, of course. But now we're going to pop down to Tom for our Michelin Driver of the Day.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Jimmy. Welcome back to the GT desk. I'm with our Michelin Driver of the Day. Thank you so much to everybody who got in touch. Of course, it is Nicolas Rubelar from Team BMW. Nicolas, many congratulations. The fans here are giving you a few bits of rounds of applause as well. How does it feel to be Michelin Driver of the Day?
Well, it's basically that reflects all the practice that I have been dedicating to this race. Yeah, I'm really happy that everything went perfect in terms of strategy and performance, so I'm really happy about that.
It was a mega performance from Team BMW. You guys took, I can't remember, a handful of podiums last year. Your best result was second place in the final at Tokyo. BMW's last win overall in the Manufacturer Series was 2018 in the Nürburgring. So how does it feel to get that manufacturer finally back on the top step?
Well, it really feels amazing. I mean, I have been racing with BMW since World Finals 2018, and it technically was 2 years of practicing and trying to win, and finally it came the time.
Goodness me. So what is the plan now going forward for Team BMW for 2020? How are you going to use this momentum to carry the team forward?
I guess with this victory, I feel really motivated to keep racing for BMW, because it's super complete in terms of performance, so we can really work with a strategy, so it's really enjoyable in that sense.
Well, Nicolas, congratulations, huge congratulations on being announced as, and voted indeed, as the Michelin Driver of the Day in 2020. Thank you for joining us here as well for World Tour 1 for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships Manufacturers Series. We are back tomorrow at 4 p.m. local time for the Nations Cup. Join us for the next instalment of the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. Who is going to emerge on top on Sunday, down under here in Australia? We'll see you at 4 p.m. local time tomorrow.